Good morning, everybody. Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. Those cameras look like absolute dog S right now, and I don't know why. We are live on YouTube as well. Very, very, they look very not sharp. You see that?
Look great on mine.
Mine
looks
just terrible.
I think the people in the cameras look a little
peaked.
maybe worse for wear after the weekend.
That's probably fair.
The camera is okay.
Well, listen, we do a radio show anyway, so we'll focus on that. Good morning, everybody. Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan. Today is Monday, December 11th, 2023. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl, the executive producer. Good morning, Paulie.
Good morning.
Benjamin Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor, is here. Good morning, Benjamin.
Good morning. Maybe a hair less friendly than usual, but we can get to that at some point.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, Christmas came early at the Woods house this year. Have you guys noticed yet? Anything about me in particular?
You shaved.
No, I trimmed.
You got your haircut last week.
I did get my haircut last week. Anything else that
you have a new water bottle?
No, I do. But
yeah.
Anything else would remind you guys of Christmas that you can see, I don't know, maybe glowing on my nose like Rudolph.
Oh, yeah. There's a big gorch right there.
Gorch or whatever that is on the tip of my nose.
Oh, man.
Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, has a very shiny nose. How does the rest of it go?
And if you ever saw it, you would even say it glows.
It's glowing right now. I don't know what happened. I thought these days were behind me, but I woke up to what can only be...
This is going to be very embarrassing at science class at third period.
All right, let's put it this way. If I was in high school today, I would have skipped school.
All of the other reindeers used to laugh and call him names.
What is this?
Stove.
You guys see it?
Yeah, I can see it now.
It's shiny.
I'm surprised I didn't notice until you pointed it out.
Now you won't.
Now I can't stop.
Now it's like a
it.
homing device. That's all you're going to be looking at.
It's just so perfectly centered. It's right at
in
the tip.
The middle.
Right at the tip. Right? Does it hurt?
Yeah.
No.
It hurts to the touch.
It looks painful.
I think it's either...
Did you take a lacrosse ball to the face accidentally?
That would be the cool thing is if like, I wore one in the face. No. I woke up and I went... Actually, all right, I lied. I woke up on Saturday morning and I walked into the bathroom and I went, what in the... And I knew I had a Seals game that night. And I had to, be presentable. I knew I was going to be potentially meeting Bret Michaels of Poison, one of my heroes. I did not want to meet him with this Rudolph nose of mine. And so I was in a panic. I was in a panic most of the day. Hannah, all day, stop touching it. And I'm trying to pop it, whatever it is. I think it's an ingrown hair, like up in there.
You're such a skincare guy. At least compared to other guys. You
Correct.
Take a lot of care. Did you change your program, anything? The creams, did you use?
Recently.
Did you rub a big pepperoni pizza on your face at some point?
You're going through puberty.
That's the thing, Paulie, is like I thought I was done with these. Like you get the occasional ingrown hair, you get the occasional zit. But I woke up with this shiny, red-ass bulbous nose. And I just went, well, all right, if this is how the week's going to go, I might have had Hannah put some makeup on it on Saturday before the show. Now, what I wanted, can you get just the tip here? Just dull the tip here. We like to play just the tip at my house. And so we did play just the tip, and she put some on. Well, then she starts going up the nose and down the sides and under the eyes.
Yeah.
And I go, no. I look like a corpse now. You're sending me off to look like a corpse. So I got the little pad and started blotting it and wiping it and, whatever.
This was all to just do public address announcing.
And meet Bret Michaels.
And meet Bret Michaels from Poison.
Yeah. And nobody wants to walk around with I look like a rummy. Like I've been sitting in a bar all day. Like, oh, man, Woods is back on the sauce again. Sitting at it. Look at that rummy with his bright red nose. So, yeah, Rudolph. You just call me Rudolph.
Jolly old St.
Woods, whatever you want to call me. Clown. The bozo, the clown nose now is built in for me, so I didn't even need to bring it from home. So that's how. I'm surprised you guys didn't say anything.
I really didn't.
I
notice.
wanted to see if they would say anything, and everyone in here is locked in their own little world, and that's okay. I would have noticed about you, though, Ben. If I looked over and said, "What the hell's wrong with you?"
I know you would have noticed.
Yeah, but here I am.
I'm a better person than you
That's
that
true.
way.
That's true. But I need material, and sometimes you have to make it about yourself, and I did. So I have a big, giant, bright red nose this morning, which it fits sometimes. How was your guys' weekend?
The weekend was fine. Did a little Christmas shopping. I didn't buy anything. We went to one of those craft kind of, I don't know, people with independent, make little things in Oceanside on Saturday
Like
to
a
check
swap
it out.
meet?
Yeah, I mean, basically a glorified,
Like a craft fair.
yeah, like a craft fair where they were selling their little, homemade wares that you could give as nice little presents, but nothing really called to me. There was this one woman who was selling these little bowls of moss, which I found fascinating. I didn't know why I'd ever want to own a little small bowl of moss. I mean, it's just
mossy.
like a decorative little bowl of moss. I guess it's like chia pets for adults,
Okay.
or something like that. But we walked around, and Shelly bought a couple of things, and we had a charcuterie board, and I always like a good charcuterie board. But yeah, that was pretty uneventful weekend. The most eventful thing happened on my way to work this morning. I was involved in a minor road rage incident.
Oh, boy.
Hey!
Oh, boy.
Which you know me,
What'd you do?
I don't rage. Well, I would get that. I understand the phenomenon of road rage. If someone does something unsafe on the roadways, they're not paying attention, they cut you off, and then you in the car get really mad, lay on your horn. I think that's an appropriate response, just warning that person to be better. That's not what happened. I was turning left. There was 2 left turn lanes. In the far left lane were 2 black vans. I was in the second left turn lane over to the right. So you're turning left. So what is supposed to happen? The cars in the left-hand lane go into the first lane, and I then go
to
into
the outside.
second lane.
Right.
So we start, the light turns green, arrow turns green. We both start turning left. The van in front of me cuts me off by veering over
Into
to the
your lane.
second
Yeah.
lane. The van behind me then lays on his horn, swerves behind me, goes around me to the right as I have to swerve left into the inside lane, then completely flips me off as they go by.
It was like Daytona
They
moves
were
there.
They were totally in the wrong. Both of the vans, and I think they were together because they like matched.
Yeah,
so
2
they were on
black
some sort of
vans.
caravan to somewhere at 4:55 in the morning. And both of them behaved incredibly inappropriately on the road, and then got mad at me for simply making the correct left turn from my lane into the second lane where I was supposed to be. I did nothing wrong, yet I was the object of their ire and got horns and fingers pointed at me for not sure what I was supposed to do
It's
in that situation other than make my normal left turn into the lane that I was supposed to be going into.
and you didn't respond.
I didn't really respond. Like, what am I, like, honk back?
Yeah.
Obviously,
F
they had
you.
no idea what they were supposed to be doing.
Roll down
so.
that window.
Roll down that window. What's your effing problem?
Hey, kids, look, a deer.
But then these days, just you can't be too careful.
Well,
I think
that's
you did
true,
the
too.
right thing. It's also early
And
morning.
they're black vans, and 2 of them. I mean,
It feels like they're going to heist something. It
does
does feel like it feels like they're on their way.
early morning bank
Yeah,
robbery.
they're on
of
their
some
way
sort,
to a bank
or
job
some
somewhere,
sort of weapons transaction.
and they're going to break into some sort of jewelry
yeah,
store
for the holidays.
For the
Just
holidays,
had taken a big delivery of diamonds
Yeah.
right before the holidays, and they were about to steal it.
You absolutely got in the middle of their heist.
Felt like it.
I am completely
I
convinced.
threw off their timing somehow
Yeah,
by being
yeah.
in the wrong lane.
That's exactly
like everything
right.
was coordinated down to the second, and I may have ruined the whole thing.
That's exactly right, my friend. Could have been 2 vans bringing $700 million up to Los Angeles, California, for one baseball player, and
Maybe they were delivering meals to the needy in
Could
the
be,
morning that
could be.
early. I
4
just
o'clock
wanted
in
to
the
make
morning,
sure
yeah.
they got there in time for breakfast.
Yeah, Carlos says maybe it was the Wet Bandits. Yeah, it could be.
Holiday
M85
season, Home Alone, Wet Bandits.
M85 says just let it go. Road rage is on another level nowadays. Man, you are not
I did.
wrong.
I let
Good
it
for
go.
you.
I'm not a rager, but I was the ragee the subject of rage for doing absolutely nothing wrong.
I'll throw a finger out there every
Yeah,
now
I'll
and
give
again.
you
I mean,
one of
we'll all turn
But-
left and occasionally drift over
yeah.
to the right, especially if no one's there. Like, okay.
I'm nervous these days, man. Like, you never know what somebody's gonna do.
And so I wasn't that mad that the guy in front of me drifted. I almost expect it sometimes,
Sure.
especially when, it's early and no one's usually on the road. So, he may not have noticed I was there. It was the guy behind me, though, who clearly saw what was going on. Like, oh, my guy in the van in front of me totally cut that guy off. And I thought maybe he'd do a little, sorry, apology
Yeah,
wave.
yeah,
Instead,
sorry, dude.
I got to
He's-
lay on the horn and a
That's
finger
you.
instead. I was thinking just a little apology wave is all I deserve there,
Well,
and I'm fine.
I'm glad you're
And I got
here.
horn and finger instead.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're safe. I think you always do the right thing, and that was definitely the right thing. I'm sorry also that my voice sounds like
I heard you. I watched the game, so I know
Hamburger
you were
meat.
going.
I went after it.
You were going strong. The walk of shame every time there was a
Yep.
penalty.
Got him good.
I
You could
heard
hear
you.
it pretty well.
Big dog. I could hear you definitely in the background. I kept looking for you, and I never really saw you on TV.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. Do PA for the San Diego Seals, which is our indoor box lacrosse team. I'm absolutely in love with the games. They're so much fun. Saw a ton of Tier 1s out there as well. Thanks for saying hello. It was amazing. I got to meet Brett Michaels, which was such a highlight. You couldn't have met a nicer human being than him. Signed a record for me and a magazine. Took a picture with me. Was like, bro, so nice to meet you. I've heard so much about you. And to get to I've been listening to that dude's music since I was like 12 years old. I'm almost 50. And I told him that. And I said, I said, this would have blown my mind as a little kid to meet you. And I said, I've been listening to you for a long time, man. He goes, man, I love you for saying that. And we talked about the Seals. He really, really is into it. And
Yeah, his daughter is the sideline reporter,
Sideline
and
reporter.
I hadn't seen her work before, but she did an outstanding
She's
job. The coach
outstanding,
interviews, like between quarters and stuff, she was very solid. She's got a very promising future if she wants to pursue that in the probably network TV business.
There's no question. And she's like, she always gets so nervous, but she just knocks it out of the park. And man, couldn't have been cooler.
Did you meet
know?
Drew Brees?
I
you've
saw
already
Drew
met
Brees. I've met Drew. We've
Yeah,
interviewed
I mean,
Drew
we
Brees,
had-
but I didn't say hello to him.
he was at the game.
I honestly beelined right past former Chargers quarterback Drew Brees. I couldn't have cared less.
to meet Brett Michaels.
To beat Brett Michaels. He was walking right to me. I was like, excuse me. And went around and couldn't have cared less. Just wanted to meet Brett. Got to see him and talk to him a couple times. And
You could have just discussed the things on your face together with Drew. Well, too early, too soon.
6:14 on Monday morning.
Too soon. Okay.
oh man,
It's our last full week, and it's going to be a doozy. Thanks, Ben.
I was hoping that wouldn't come up. But that's
Wow.
all right. Let's reset it.
Start with the Daily Ditty coming up next. We already know the theme.
We do.
Because listener Steve won Take on Woods on Friday, and appropriately he's choosing holiday songs. Christmas music is the theme this week, so that'll be our Daily Ditty. Coming up next, we will discuss the big news that broke with Shohei Ohtani going to, where he's going. How is it going
Told
to
you
impact
guys.
the Padres?
Told you.
Should we feel despondent as a Padres fan base, or are there other reactions that we can have this morning? I'd like to kind of delve into what some of the other possibilities are other than complete and utter desolation on this Monday morning.
It's funny because the Dodger fan will tell you anything else than complete and utter desolation and depression is coping. And there's a part of me that can see that, but then there's a part of me that goes, I don't know, man. $700 million for an injured DH with zero playoff experience.
I just want to know why the team hasn't announced it.
I would
I'm just
love
asking
to
the
know,
question.
Paulie,
Just asking the
why
question.
hasn't the team announced it yet? I would think if it were me and I just signed a unicorn, might want to throw it up on my socials. I might want to. What could possibly be wrong?
We will get to all of that. Much more. Casey Stern, our good buddy, will join us to talk baseball, host of the Unfiltered podcast at 7:35. We are off and running on a Monday morning, as Paulie said. Our final full week of the year, Christmas and holiday extravaganza next Wednesday. Then we shut it down until the new year, so you don't want to miss a minute of it. It's Ben and Woods.
And we got Vicky Pepper.
We got Vicky Pepper in this week. Kelly's on early vacation. Vicky Pepper with traffic. Back after that on 97.3 The Fan.
I always feel a little dicey playing old Chuck Berry. You know what I mean?
You know, Chuck Berry was just 4 when he recorded this song. Oh no, wait, that was a different song, different person.
You know what I mean, right?
Did Chuck have some problems at some point?
I mean, I guess you could call them problems. Some might call them disgusting fetishes. You know.
I may need a rabbit hole on Chuck Berry.
I don't know that the FCC would allow me, but I do know that I have heard the Chuck Berry tapes before, and they're not great. They're not great at all. Okay? Do you not know what I'm referring to?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I didn't pick it.
Have you?
I think we've talked about this before.
I think we have mentioned it. We didn't play the tapes. Adam is wrecking his car right now. We can't play the Chuck Berry tapes. I have heard them before. They're repugnant.
I don't even know of what you refer to, actually.
You know, it's hard because we talk a lot. We have talked a lot over the years about the art and the artist, right? Like some people can do it. Some people can't. Some bands or artists, you're like, I get it, but I really love, whatever. And then there's some where you're like, I can't play this. Like, I can never play blank in my home. Do you have any that you're like, I can't listen to it anymore? Like Michael Jackson's kind of tough. R. Kelly, you're like, I can't listen to R. Kelly anymore. I just can't do it. Let's put it this way.
Gary Glitter,
100%. Benny Goodwin, the sports song, I know. Yeah. But the let me just say this. You remember the R. Kelly stuff, right?
Yeah.
Very similar scene with Chuck Berry. So you do Wonder, but also a musical legend.
But with Chuck, this was like 70 years ago.
No,
oh.
It was like in the 80s.
Oh, really? More recent. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Very, very creepy stuff.
All right.
The Dodgers fans have entered our chat, and I kind of figured that they would today. They want to hear it. Let's see. Dodger fans don't listen to Ben and Woods because we like it. We listen on days like this to hear them whine. Buddy, I'm going to tell you this right now. You guys, and I said it on Friday. Did I not? You guys can back me up on this. I told you all day long he's going to be a Dodger. I told you all day long. When the maple leaf popped up, I said, stop.
You did.
He's going to be a Dodger. When Morosi's tweet came in, I said, guys, enough. He's going to be a Dodger. We all knew it. They knew it. They had a 10-year love affair with this guy, and they did what they had to do to get it done. And I give them kudos to that. Kudos for that. Do I think it's a game changer for them? I think it's a game changer for their public relations team right now. I think it's a game changer for their marketing team. I think it's a game changer for their bottom line right now. What he's going to be able to bring to the table next year is he's going to hit third in the lineup, try to drive in, or maybe even second in the lineup. He's going to try to drive in the guys in front of him, and he's damn good at that. He's a really, really good baseball player.
Betts Ohtani Freeman
is as dirty as it gets, man. And that's, I'm not a moron. Like, I may loathe the Dodgers. I'm also not an idiot to think, oh crap, dude, this is big for them. Garrett, the thing that kept popping in my head all weekend was this. I wonder without him being able to pitch this year, did you need him? Now, I also understand that's how it all came together, right? Like, he was hurt. You would have gone after him as hard if he was, obviously, probably harder, if he could pitch. That made the most sense to me. The two-way player.
He didn't get hurt. Would he be the first $800 million man?
100%. It actually cost him $100 million. He's a great, great player. But without him being able to pitch this year, which is where they need the most. Would they win last year? 100 on the nose? 100 games?
What did they finish at? It was right around 100. Obviously, they won the division again.
You're going to win 105 games now. You won 111 the year before that. You don't need any help in the regular season. You never did. You don't.
I mean, 162.
They won 100 games last year. So what's he going to do for you there? He's going to help you win 105 games, which is amazing. Quite an accomplishment. What will the difference be in October? How will that work? That's always the Dodger question. I mean, that's always been our issue with the Dodgers. And I think my issue with Dodger fans is you're a great regular season team. I give you that. I tip my hat to you. You're like maybe the best I've ever seen. What does he bring for you in October? You don't know. We don't know. We've never seen him swing the bat in October one single time. It's a lot of dough. But it doesn't mean it's a bad signing and we're going to sit in here and cope. But it also doesn't mean anybody should roll over for the Dodgers because, as we know, when Doc Roberts is at the helm and the clock strikes October, it all changes. All of it. You haven't won a playoff game in 2 years. And you have 200-plus regular season wins. That's what we're talking about here. You know it. I know it. I know it stings you. I know it does. It would sting me too. I'd be furious.
From a Padres fan perspective, it just seems clear. I mean, we know better than anybody that just adding a superstar doesn't always make your team better either.
Or winning the offseason. We got lambasted last year.
It does, again, and I'm certainly not saying it's a bad signing. I think it's just, the Dodgers needed to do something like this. They were poised for it. They set themselves up for it. But you don't know how it's going to affect clubhouse, chemistry, expectations. I mean, the Padres crumbled under the weight of expectations last year. Expectations not going down for the Dodgers after 100 wins and adding Shohei Ohtani. They're going to be crushing and glaring, and every little bad streak is going to be magnified, just like it was for the Padres last year. And the Dodgers are going to have to overcome that. And likely they will and have another good regular season, and we'll see, as you said, Woods, what happens in the playoffs. But we absolutely know that adding a superstar player to an already good team does not automatically mean another 10 regular season wins or a World Series title.
Sure wish it did.
Would love it if it did.
I sure wish it did, my friends. I caught it, I caught grief about it all weekend. I knew it was going to happen. I told you it was going to happen. I'm not surprised at all that it happened. I'm surprised it was even an option that people really bit down on, thinking he was going to go anywhere else. They have been plotting and planning and scheming to get this done. Not scheming is not the right word, but they've been plotting and planning and getting all their ducks in a row so they could go out and get Shohei Ohtani.
Well, people thought he would go somewhere else because of a lot of very questionable reporting that happened all throughout Friday.
Yeah, and we'll get to that certainly today as well. It was a wild one, man. It was a wild one, and I will say this: I'm pretty proud of myself. When Friday came down, and we all saw the stuff on the air, then I went home. I mean, I had like reams of stuff and memes and funny videos to make, and I go, you know what, man? Just hold off. Hold off until I finally got smart, Ben. Hold off until you see the pass and tweet, because I knew, and I think a lot of Padre fans and Dodger fans knew in their heart of hearts that he was going to be a Dodger. So anyway, I think he's a great, amazing player. Paul, you saying this morning, I never did go get on the train and ride up to watch him pitch. And I go, yeah, neither of us did.
My buddy and I were like, we've been talking for, I don't know, a couple of years by now. We're like, hey, let's just, it's going to have to be impromptu. But when the times line up, when he's pitching at home, got to hop on the train, go to Anaheim.
Never did, did you?
Never did it.
And now you're going to watch him pitch and be like,
I don't have to worry about it now.
Yeah.
I'm good.
You'll still see him pitch. But, very, very huge, monumental day for baseball fans. Dodger fans taking a victory lap, as you should. And you got the most prized free agent.
And if you're tuning in to hear a little bit of whining, it might not be about what the Dodgers did. It's hard to do anything other than tip your cap. You might hear us whine a little bit about the reaction from the baseball media, though.
Yeah, and you gotta understand that there's nuance to all of it. There is, and we will get into that today as well, because I thought that was a little bit ridiculous. But I did some research on my own. I got some interesting stories about how good this could potentially be for the Dodgers. Not that anybody wants to hear that, but look, I mean, there's a reason I haven't found many negative comments about this deal from talking heads like I did, last year and we did the year before. So we'll get into all that today.
The deferred money is, I think, a big issue that's going to have to be settled by Major League Baseball at some point. And Padres took advantage of it as well with some of their long deals. We'll see now, has the Dodgers gone too far with their $700 million deferred deal contract with Shohei Ohtani. We'll discuss it all coming up. This hour of Ben and Woods is brought to you by the Golf Mart. If you want to give us a call, you can, 833-288-0973. More Ohtani offseason baseball talk, and we'll get into a little bit of the football this weekend as well. Coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Benny, would you have deferred? Our new deal starts on January 1, 3-year contract for Benjamin Higgins and me and Paulie. 3-year deal, but we defer. Would you have deferred a bunch? I need the money now. I can't afford to defer a bunch of money.
Well, I like the idea of
I love the idea.
More money coming in the future without working does sound really cool. Now, like if they had said, we're going to give you double what we're offering you, but you have to defer half of it, and then of course, yes.
Sold. But yeah, you wouldn't. They couldn't.
How much more? If they're just offering the exact same and they want to defer a bunch of it, then I go no.
If he walks me, he's like, "I'm gonna give you guys $30,000 each." All right, $30,000 a pop. I'm gonna defer the rest to 20
on the Bobby Bonilla plan.
Defer the rest to 5 years from now. I'll be like, "There's a better than good chance I won't be here in 5 years, but that would benefit my family." I don't
Peace
know.
of mind,
peace
for
of
the future.
mind. Sure.
It's not an unappealing thought, but as they're pointing out in this Dodgers deal, that money in 10 or 15 years is not worth the same as money now.
I read that. I don't know 50 times, and here is me. Yeah. Oh. Sure. Yeah. Obviously, I don't know what any of it means. I'm reading these threads, you guys, of no, what you don't understand is the competitive balance tax is not in agreement with the AAV. The AAV is actually going to go down the CBT. They're not going to get hit for this. And I'm going, I could never have been an agent.
We're going to get into that because this is, I think, one of the big issues of this deal. And Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, they're going to have to establish some more clear guidelines on deferred money and stretching out contracts. I want to get into part of that on the Ohtani deal and what the Padres can do to counter, if anything, right after a check of traffic with Vicky here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Vicky Pepper.
You'll want to avoid the 805 North at Claremont Mesa this morning. A couple problems happening here. One, a SIG alert due to an accident investigation. Also a disabled vehicle in the second lane from the left. You're stopped from the 8. That's going to add about half an hour to your ride. I'm Vicky Pepper, in for Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I think you bring up a good point, and not everybody is going to completely understand the deferred money aspect of the Shohei Ohtani deal. But let's talk about it in simple terms. Forget about luxury taxes and AAVs for a second. Money today is worth more than money in 10 years. That's a fairly simple concept for most.
Totally.
Well, inflation for one thing.
Right.
You can't buy the same thing in 10 years, presumably. Cars get more expensive, houses get more expensive. If I gave you $1 million in 1973, you're buying a really nice house. I mean, really nice house. If I gave you $1 million today, hey, you're getting kind of more of an average sort of home in San Diego.
You're getting a tent, let's be honest.
So if I give you $1 million in 15, 20 years, now you're pretty much getting a tent. That's how money gets less valuable over time. And then there's also the investment aspect of it. If I gave you $1 million today and you invested it, even fairly conservatively, you're going to grow that money over the next 10 years into something quite a bit more than $1 million. You're going to have $1.5 million, $2 million. You may double your money over the time, compounding interest. If you don't get that money for 10 years, you can't start investing it. It can't start making money on itself. So money today, for multiple reasons, is more valuable than money in the future, which is why Shohei Ohtani's $700 million deal, which reportedly is, they said, more than 50% of that is deferred. So that means more than $350 million of that money will be coming to him after the end of the contract in 10 years. It's not worth $700 million. This is Scott Boras making himself look very, very good.
No, it's not Boris. It's Nev.
This is Nez making himself. This is a very Scott Boras-esque tactic to make the number look as big as possible when the announcement is made.
It's an NFL contract.
Yeah.
How they do that in the NFL. And it's like, hey, this is a $400 million deal. It's worth actually $32 million.
Now, it's guaranteed.
He's guaranteed.
He'll see every dollar of that $700 million at some point. So that's the only difference. In the NFL, they'll announce a $300 million deal, but 120 is a guaranteed.
Guy'll get $40 million.
They may only get 120 of that. He'll get all the $700 million. It's just some of it, and we don't know how far into the future are the deferrals. that is part of that equation. Now, should the Dodgers be getting the advantage then of a lower AAV based on that deferral, which allows them to presumably spend more on other players in free agency while staying under or closer to the luxury tax in future years? That is the big issue here that baseball is going to have to address, because if the Dodgers are simply using accounting to give themselves an advantage over the rest of the league while also enjoying the talents of Shohei Ohtani for a decade, well, that's an issue for baseball, because the Dodgers already have a lot of advantages. Their TV deal is much more massive than other teams. Obviously, they have a huge stadium that's packed every night in a giant market, gives them a giant advantage over other teams already. Do you really want to keep giving the teams that already have built-in advantages more advantages by letting them, mess with their accounting in such a ways that they can circumvent the things that you've done to try to put everybody on a more equal playing field?
Yeah, I mean, it's smart. It's smart of the teams to do it. Edwin Diaz had a deal structured like this. I did not realize this until yesterday. Mookie Betts has some deferred money in his contract as well. Seems to be a fairly smart way to... Please don't misconstrue, Dodger fans, and I know there are many of you listening. I'm not saying that they're doing anything wrong or illegal, because they're not. They're finding ways to circumvent the yearly hit that they're going to take, and it allows them more flexibility. And Shohei apparently in his negotiations said, hey, man, yes, the $70 million a year is a lot of dough. I don't want to cripple the rest of the team, so I'll do 35 now, 35 later, and we'll do that every year. So I reached out, Ben, to a financial guru. A guru. He's a guru. A friend of a friend. So they're owned by Guggenheim. Yes? Is the Dodgers run by. And I got this back. A good deal for Guggenheim. They can put a much smaller amount in a locked-in interest rate swap and not worry about it being there in the future. Actual cost far less than $700. How much less depends on precise terms of when larger payouts start. How big and for how long? Over 30 years, very roughly, 175. It's awesome of him and not dumb either. By the time he collects most, he won't be dealing with as much in U.S. taxes, and it'll be interesting to watch the states and IRS come back, try to tax him like they do active players, probably causing a lot of consternation at Major League Baseball as well. I wonder how they're going to treat this for salary cap purposes. Will they try to amortize it over the life of the contract?
Amortize.
Amortize. Yep. What did I say? Amortize? Amortize it over the life of the contract, even though that's not how it's paid. It's going to be very interesting.
You have a very smart friend, contact, whoever you talk to, very, very intelligently laid out there what's going on from a financial perspective.
What does amortize mean?
Amortize means spread out the cost of something.
Okay.
It's a layaway plan, essentially. You're amortizing it.
All right.
You're stretching it out into the future. By the way, Padres did a similar thing with the contracts for Xander Bogaerts and Yu Darvish. They didn't defer money necessarily, but they added years onto deals that they didn't really expect much from those players.
Sure.
Bogaerts into his 40s, Yu Darvish well into his 40s. No one really believes they're going to be $25 to $30 million a year players at that point, but based on their productivity. But what it did was it lowered the annual value of the contract and thus helped the Padres stay, under luxury tax numbers or closer to luxury tax numbers and avoid penalties that they'd have to pay in the present.
Plus $28 million in 10 years or something
is not going to be as much as
$28 million is right now.
Is today. And one thing the Ohtani deal has done is certainly made a contract like Fernando Tatis Jr.'s 14-year, $330 million deal or whatever it was look a heck of a lot better. Less than half as much as what they are paying Shohei Ohtani, and you're getting the entirety of Fernando's career for that kind of money. I mean, he looks like almost a steal at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And, we'll see how that contract plays out. Shohei's 31 years old. 10-year deal takes him... Isn't he
29?
I thought he was 31. Maybe Freeman's 31. Maybe he's 29. 39, so it takes him until he's 39 years old. And again, this year, our buddy Mark, who is a dedicated Tier 1, also a Dodger fan, we do not hold that against Mark. We love Mark very much. He said this morning, this is his quote. He said, I don't know how much better we are than last year. And I said, well, you've lengthened your lineup by one. And that's what you did, because this year he's just going to hit. Now, it's pretty damn good DH you can pencil in there against righties or lefties every single day. And that's assuming he comes back from the mystery surgery and is the same Shohei Ohtani, at least from the plate. And then, you got it. Then you're going to, I would imagine, be a little bit worried. Is he going to get back to where he was on the bump? How are they going to use him? Are you worried, Dodger fans, at all that the guy, calling the shots is the guy who's calling the shots? I have no doubt that the Dodgers marketing team is going to do a bang-up job with this. They've already they have already made so many inroads in Japan for decades now. Like, this is Japan is owned now by the Dodgers.
Yeah, and I saw our friend Steve Sugimoto say, I'm just going to see nothing but Dodgers jerseys over here in Japan. But I did see the argument that there's no team that will benefit less from Shohei Ohtani than the Dodgers. And the reason is they already were the strongest brand of any team in Asia. How much stronger can you get? They already almost sell out their entire stadium every year. How many more tickets can you sell? And how much more can you really charge? People were joking, Dodger dogs are going to be $300.
Yeah, I saw that.
They might be able to push off some of the costs and increase some prices like everybody does, but they can't reasonably charge $40 for a hot dog. That's not going to happen. So there's only so many ways you can make up that money. And the Dodgers don't have a TV deal coming up. It's not like, all right, we're TV contracts coming up in a year and we can all of a sudden triple that with the Ohtani factor. They don't. They're locked in with a great TV deal, but it's the same one they had last year. It'll be the same one next year and the year after that and the year after that. That's not really changing the economic equation for the Dodgers. This is more of a, trying to win on the field move, which good for them. They're trying to win on the field. But to your point, lengthening the lineup, Shohei Ohtani, as great as he is, and I am not, again, trying to argue against the move, but like any baseball player, he will get up 4 times a game. Yep. He will make an out 70 to 75% of the time when he's up there. He will have a big impact on the other 25 to 30% of the at-bats when, he hits the ball out of the yard and does what he does. He will have an impact undoubtedly, but like every player, he will go through slumps. He will have times. I mean, he went 0 for this entire series against the Padres when they played last year. He is not immune to the same forces that every baseball player can happen. And if it happens in the postseason, like it happened to Mookie and Freddie Freeman in the playoffs last year, and they go cold at the same time, the exact same thing could happen to the Dodgers next year in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, no question about it. I just, again, this is the guy they wanted. It's the guy they went out and got. You do have to tip your hat to Andrew Friedman. You have to tip your hat to all those guys for going out and getting that deal done in what was one of the wildest, free agent decisions we've ever seen. I thought he handled it the right way. I think that is the only way you handled it, and you saw the craziness around it. I do not believe the conspiracy theories that are floating around that, the Blue Jays were used as leverage and there were plants on planes. And I love a good conspiracy theory, but even I couldn't buy into that. Shohei never left California. He was sitting in his home and probably watching this all unfold with a laugh and, probably knowing for a while now that unless the Dodgers completely bungled it, and I thought they might have. I thought Dave Roberts potentially could have bungled this thing. If they didn't bungle it, he was going to be a Dodger.
I like my conspiracy theory now best. Why have the Dodgers not announced it? Most people say they're just waiting for the medicals to go through. You're not allowed to announce anything until it's officially done with the medicals as a team. I like the idea, though, that the Dodgers never made any offer to Ohtani. He has simply announced it.
Wishful thinking.
And now waiting for the entire baseball world to say what a great move this is for the Dodgers. And now the Dodgers are going,
700.
What do we do? We didn't offer him that.
We actually never offered
Do we say it and risk angering him, or do we just
pay
not agree to him now because everyone thinks we're geniuses?
I'm going to do that.
I guess we should just do this.
For our next contract, I'm going to just put on Instagram. We're back 3 years. $1 million a year.
We were offering $550 million. Not $700. What is this? This is news to us.
I do wonder. Now, I will say this, and I don't know how much I believe it. I do wonder if the talking out of school from Dave Roberts obviously didn't cost them the player. Did it cost them some money? Because I heard it did.
I mean, 700 came out of nowhere.
I thought 6 was like in my
Everybody was
mind. It
saying
was 6. It was 6. I'm like, that's a lot of dough, man. 30 and 30. Pitcher hitter
Leads into that conspiracy theory.
I do wonder if it did cost them. Now that's a big mistake. If you make an accounting mistake at Odyssey today and you cost the company $50,000, like if I said something on the air and a $50,000 fine, I don't know that I'm coming back tomorrow. Honestly, $50,000 is a lot of money.
If you cost your company $100 million, yeah, I mean, well, we'll know. When Dave Roberts gets fired in a couple of days, we'll know exactly what the answer to that question was.
It would be incredible. But listen, they got their guy.
Although I saw someone say, he passed the test.
That was the test.
He had the courage to actually defy Shohei Ohtani and say it, and that's what Ohtani was looking for.
I can't listen to that. I cannot listen to that mess. But Ohtani is a Dodger. Still a lot of free agents out there. Now, the thing that to panic with if you're a Padre fan is if they go out and throw, because of this newfound flexibility that Shohei has given them, they go out and get Yamamoto, guys like that, that's when you're like, all right, we're dead. But for right now, he's just another really tough bat in that lineup that you have to get out. That's it.
You're cheering for the now Mets or Red Sox to really step up for Yamamoto.
Yes.
Are the Giants going to panic and up their offer to Jung-Hoo Lee, who the Padres are interested in? Could that signing somehow now be affecting the Padres? We will talk about that coming up. Play some Take on Woods as well. All next, hour number 2 of Ben and Woods ahead on 97.3 The Fan.
welcome all the fans from Los Angeles that are listening in this morning. If you wanted to hear us cry, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think we're that upset. I think we're, I don't think we're that surprised. It didn't take any of us really by surprise. Your local station definitely talking about the Lakers winning the weird in-season cup most of your morning. Doubt they're talking about the Chargers' loss, but they're probably going to spend the majority of their time talking about the Lakers. So you come
that
here.
Rams-Ravens game was pretty good.
That Rams-Ravens was
Yeah.
great, Benny. But you're going to come here and you want to listen to baseball talk. We got you. So we appreciate you tuning in live from Los Angeles.
And I'm sure you're curious about how the Padres are going to respond to the Shohei Ohtani move. Now, you can't. There's no knee-jerk reaction. AJ Preller's not going to go out and sign
Yamamoto right.
And we gotta one up the Dodgers at this point. We can all tell. We can read what's been happening with the Padres, that they're not in the market. They didn't even offer Shohei Ohtani, which doesn't surprise me, but that was officially reported in The Athletic. They did not, after all the work that AJ Preller did the first time around and all the talk about the Padres, for the last 3 years, we heard from Peter Seidler and A.J. Preller that, it seemed like that was a definite possibility to try to go after Shohei Ohtani. They never even bothered making an offer. They knew they weren't in the competition this time around with where they were financially. So you have to do something, though. I was just going over the 40-man. The Padres literally have 2 outfielders right now on the 40-man roster.
That's all you need, right?
I mean, if they can cover a lot of ground, you got Tatis and Azokar basically out there.
Jake Cronenworth in left field.
You can, you're either converting someone or you're calling someone up from the minors who's not in your 40-man at this point. So you need outfielders desperately. And the one name that has been attached to the Padres fairly consistently this offseason is the Korean 2022 MVP, the KBO MVP, Jung-Hoo Lee, who there's no guarantee that he's coming to the Padres. Even if they are interested, as you pointed out during our break, he is represented by
Scotty Boras.
All right, so does that mean that if he gets offered $1 more by the Giants, that's where he's going? Even though his best friend in the world, Ha-Sung Kim, the guy maybe he worships more in Chan-Ho Park, works for the Padres. Ha-Sung Kim has basically been working with him on a swing change to help his transition to Major League Baseball already.
Maybe we stop doing lessons until guys get their contracts. I'd be happy to work with you in the cages. Sign on the dotted line, bud, and then we will get after it. The likes of which you've never seen. I love Ha-Sung Kim. Better not be getting this guy prepped up to go play with Bob Melvin's Giants out in center field. I did not realize until yesterday that Jung-Hoo Lee was a Scott Boras player. Again, we kind of actually made the joke maybe 6 weeks ago. If you're the team that Scott Boras speaks highly of, you're not doing a good job.
Didn't you see his pun? He's going to bring some K-pop to Major League Baseball.
If you're the team that he consistently gets on the horn with and is like, hey, you want another one? And you're like, yeah, yes, sir. I'll take another one. I don't know that you're doing your wallet the best, sir, doing the most with your money.
This is where A.J. Preller, I think, needs to be somewhat disciplined. They have put all their ducks in a row on this potential signing. If this is truly someone they're interested in having replace Trent Grisham out in center field now, they put their ducks in a row. For years, they have established themselves with, Korean connections, as I mentioned, Chan-Ho Park, working for the organization, Ha-Sung Kim laying the groundwork to come to the San Diego Padres. They are playing the games in Korea to start the season. What an unbelievable scene would that be for the first 2 games of the year to have both Ha-Sung Kim, Jung-Hoo Lee going back to the stadium where they played for the Kiwoom Heroes, going up against Shohei Ohtani, the biggest baseball star in the world, and certainly in Asia, for the first 2 games. It would be a dream come true for Major League Baseball as they try to expand their footprint across the globe, to have that scenario for the first 2 games in South Korea to start next season. It makes a lot of sense. Now you have to be disciplined if you're A.J. Preller. Don't overbid for him. He's not a proven commodity. We don't know exactly what he's going to be able to do, especially his first season. He's something the Padres need for sure, but don't let Scott Boras shake you down and play the Giants against you, play other teams against you to squeeze another $20 million out of you. Put the value on him, make the offer, make him say no and walk away from the table if you don't think that it's the right place for you.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
Yeah, I mean, and then let's welcome Harrison Bader here to play center field for the San Diego Padres. And I know it's tough. You always want the best players that you can get. You also want the best fit for the team. I think he's a great fit for the team. You know, obviously you're going to be reluctant when you read, like I was reading a piece that said, you know, the biggest question mark is how he responds to big league velocity, as most KBO pitchers don't hit 95 plus mile an hour heat. It's something he was working on going into the 2023 season. You just don't get that kind of velocity in the KBO, he said. They said he's been working on a swing change to make sure he can handle those fastballs. And again, getting some advice and help from his buddy, Ha-Sung Kim. Sure, it's a natural fit, but it ain't show friends. It ain't show friends. It's show business. That's where he will go. It's nice to play with your buddy, but it ain't show friends, man. It's show business, and he'll go who gives him the best offer for him. And I know that now with Ohtani being off the block, the 3 or 4 teams that were interested in actually making him an offer and going after him, well, now they're going to have to pivot. They're going to have to pivot to a Cody Bellinger. They're going to have to pivot to a Jung-Ho Lee. It's going to drive the market up a little bit for those guys, and they're in demand, and that's how it works. So, what is an overpay? What is an overpay for a guy with 0 Major League Baseball at bats?
It's a good question.
You know, what is it, $1? Is that an overpay? I have no idea. I know what I've seen of this guy. I know what I've read of this guy. But are we going to spend $90 million on?
I think the difference is you can dream on Jung-Ho Lee coming to Major League Baseball and turning into a star. You can't dream on Harrison Bader surprising everybody and being a star factor in baseball.
No,
Ha-Sung Kim has been a very pleasant, to me, a bit of a surprise in how good he has turned into. Based on what we saw when he first got here, you weren't even sure if he'd stick in the big leagues.
You really weren't, man.
And now he's a guy who got MVP votes last season.
Yep.
That's an unqualified success story for the San Diego Padres. Doesn't mean Jung-Ho Lee is going to be the same way, but they have established at least a track record and a path to get to where they want Jung-Ho Lee to get if they do sign him.
No question.
Need a contestant for Take on Woods? Call us now, 833-288-0973. Qualifying listeners for trip to Vegas, steakhouse dinner, Barry Manilow tickets. What a Vegas experience that would be. But you got to call, you got to play, you got to Take on Woods, 833-288-0973. The other names, though, that are in the outfield are not it's not a huge market out there right now for outfielders. And the Padres, they need 2 of them, essentially. And they also still need pitching. They need, obviously, bullpen help at this point. So you can't overspend. Yeah, they've got, now $45 million to spend in the free agent market possibly here. But you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You still have to spread it around a little bit and address some of your other needs, because you can't just sign Jung-Ho Lee and say, yeah, all right, we've done what we needed, because you haven't. There's bullpen slots to be filled. There's another starting rotation spot to be filled. And whether that's through a trade or through free agency, it's going to cost some money for the kind of players that you're going to want to put in those spots for you in 2024.
No question. No question about it.
All right, I see people calling in.
All right.
Let's get to it. It is time for the first game of the week. Let's take on Woods. All right, is this Todd on the line? Todd, good morning. Welcome to Take on Woods. How are you?
Hey, good morning, man. Good.
All right.
How are you guys doing?
Good. Have you played before?
I have not.
All right,
This is my first time.
First timer. I'll go
right.
through the
I
rules
like
quickly to start the week. Woods has left the studio. He doesn't hear this part of the game. You go first. 5 questions of musical trivia, and then Woods comes back. Same 5 questions. If you beat or tie him, we will put you into the grand prize drawing for the 2-night stay at the Westgate, Las Vegas, dinner at Edge Steakhouse, and 2 tickets to Barry Manilow at the International Theater. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, but let's just win them right here. And to give you a bit of advantage, because Woods is very good at this, we'll give you the category and the selection to start. So here are your choices, Todd. We've got Opposites Attract, 5-song titles with a pair of opposites in the title. Well, we're waiting. That's the word waiting is the key and all the answers there. And our new category is called You Punk. It's actually submitted by Tier 1 Carl. Now, This, to me, if you don't know punk, don't pick it, because this is one of the tougher ones. I didn't write it, so. But if you know punk music, this would be a perfect category for you. So those three are your choices. Opposites attract, Well, We're Waiting, or You Punk. What would you like to play, Todd?
Let's try Well, We're Waiting.
Well, We're Waiting. That's my best Judge Smales for you. 60 seconds to get as many as you can. If you don't know an answer, Todd, say pass. We can come back to it if there's time left on the clock at the end. Our first question is the 2-second song. Paulie is going to play a short clip. You need to give me the title of the song with the word waiting in it and the artist to score that point. You got it?
Got it?
All right, 60 seconds on the clock. Category, Well, We're Waiting. Todd, your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck. Let's take on Woods.
Foreigner, Waiting for a Girl Like You.
Correct. It's the hardest part in a 1981 hit by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Pass.
Which 1989 number one hit did Richard Marx write as a love letter to his wife?
Right Here Waiting.
Correct. Jack Johnson asks, must I always be playing the Fool, in which 2005 song from his In Between Dreams album?
Pass.
John Mayer won a Grammy Award for which 2006 lament to his generation's inaction in the face of global events?
I knew this one. Pass.
All right, it's the hardest part in a 1981 hit by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Hardest part. The hardest part is waiting?
The Waiting, yes. Jack Johnson asks. Good job there on Todd. The Waiting is the hardest part. That's a category assist for sure there. You got 3 right. Waiting for a Girl Like You by Foreigner, The Waiting, and Right Here Waiting. Jack Johnson was Sitting, Waiting, Wishing. And John Mayer is Waiting on the World to Change. But 3 is not bad here, especially with Woods not getting the category. So, Todd, stay on the line. We'll need your information if you do pull it out. Woods comes back, completely in the dark. What were you doing out there? Just your normal stuff?
Yeah, I was looking at Twitter, see if the Dodgers signed Snell and Yamamoto.
Fair enough. All right, that's fair enough. All right, 60 seconds on the clock. Probably that, but I just always was curious what you do out there when you're gone. We don't see you.
No.
You're out there.
Just playing on my phone.
All right, 60 seconds on the clock. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Woods. Let's take on Todd.
I've been waiting for a Girl Like You, Foreigner.
Correct. It's the hardest part in a 1981 hit by Tom Petty.
Waiting.
Correct. Which 1989 number one hit did Richard Marx write as a love letter to his wife?
Right Here Waiting for You.
Correct. Jack Johnson asks, must I always be playing the Fool, in which 2005 song from his In Between Dreams album?
God, I know the song. I don't know the name. It's Waiting on You?
Incorrect. John Mayer won a Grammy Award for which 2006 lament to his generation's inaction in the face of global events?
Waiting on the World to Change.
Oh, and that's the winner, 4-3.
Ooh, mamacita.
Wow, good game, Todd. Well played, but not enough to take down Woods today.
Damn,
Please,
dude.
give it another try, though. You were an outstanding candidate or contestant in the Well, We're Waiting category today. It was
waiting.
Sitting, Waiting, Wishing was the title of the Jack Johnson song that you knew. You didn't know the title, but 4 is good enough to pull it off.
Well done.
I like that Foreigner song.
I do too. Oh. We've had this discussion before. Foreigner may be
Kicks
one of the
ass.
more underrated bands of
Urgent,
all time.
hot-blooded. I mean, bro, Foreigner is amazing.
Jukebox Hero.
Jukebox
It's
Hero is
incredible.
Urgent just kills
Urgent
me.
is so good.
Hot-blooded.
So good.
It's creepy.
But it's
Hot-blooded
good,
is
though.
very creepy, but it's very good.
All right, we'll come back with a new category tomorrow.
I
and
want to
another
know
chance.
what you're doing after the show, is what he says. And I think he's talking to an underage girl. It just, the lyrics make it sound that way. But the 80s were way different.
Yeah, well, 70s kind of.
70s.
I mean, super freak. I mean, you know, she's into the band. What can we say? It's every decade has its own creepy songs.
That definitely.
All right, let's take a time out. We'll come back. I want to, it's the holiday season. Let's do all do this's today instead of don't do this.
All of them.
Well,
Where are we putting Ken Rosenthal?
all right. If you want to put Ken Rosenthal and don't do this, I can put your beloved Seals and don't do this as well. I have an abundance abundance of doo-doo this is that we can get to. But we can just sprinkle them
We'll
throughout
sprinkle
the show.
them throughout the show.
That's fine. We'll get to that coming up next with Ben and Woods after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Going to tell everybody about our holiday extravaganza in just a moment, but we'll make that part of the do this. We'll start, though, Woodsy, with don't do this for a Monday morning, and you've got you got at least one baseball insider in particular in your crosshairs.
You know, and really I'm kind of lumping them all together based on Verducci's, just kind of unnecessary, gratuitous shot last week at the San Diego Padres and how they should just fold up the tents, call it a day. Dodgers are going to run away with everything. I mean, we've heard that song and dance many, many years. Now, Ken Rosenthal then, I knew it was coming. I didn't want to see it, but I knew it was going to be there. Shohei Ohtani, this is good for baseball. Signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers for $700 million. And when you couch your article with, listen, fans of teams in the game's smallest markets will want to hear it even less. But Ohtani's choice of the Dodgers, who play in the nation's second largest media market, only enhances his stature and that of his sport. So I can remember last year when the San Diego Padres were spending money. I didn't see any of these "this is good for baseball" tweets or articles. I did
because it's not.
I did see and hear a lot of, worry. And we had a little text thread about it yesterday, the three of us and Adam, and I'm not mad. Like, how could I possibly be mad at a team for spending money? That's my pulpit here. I want teams to spend money. I am furious at owners that take revenue sharing money and shove it in their pockets. I think it's absurd that they do it. But to say to just a year later that, well, this is good for baseball, and what I didn't mean bad for baseball, but what they're doing, that should have been lauded as well. And I don't remember many people lauding a team that went for it.
You seem to have a different definition of what is good for baseball than other people.
Probably.
I think national writers, the definition of what's good for baseball, is it good for the Dodgers or Yankees or maybe Mets, then it's good for baseball.
Correct.
If it's good for any of the other teams, then it's bad for the Dodgers, Yankees, and Mets. It's bad for baseball.
Correct.
We just saw record low ratings in a World Series that was Diamondbacks Astros. So I guess it would be good for baseball if the Dodgers and Yankees were in the World Series. Thus, Soto to the Yankees and Ohtani to the Dodgers is good for baseball. Now, I have a very different definition of what I think is good for baseball. I like it when small market teams stop spending $40 million on their franchises and give fans a reason to cheer and make more competitive games throughout the season and make the product more compelling top to bottom. But there are some people who think the only thing that can be good for baseball is if the biggest media markets succeed and thrive every year and the rest of the teams are simply schedule fodder that are brought in as, sacrificial lambs to face the Dodgers and Yankees until their ultimate conclusion when they meet each other in the World Series. And we haven't had that in a very long time.
Long time.
Which is annoying to some baseball writers.
It bugs them. It bugs them tremendously. For me, I love any World Series. I do, and I'm not saying that would be a bad World Series. That'd be a badass World Series. That being said, let's let the chips fall where they may. Let's make sure that there's a lot of inequality in baseball, and I think there always has been, the haves and the have-nots, and to have so many teams floundering after their TV deals collapse, but to have certain teams going, ours is fine. We're going to make $20 billion on a TV deal. That's a little bit tough to stomach, I think, for a lot of fans. I don't want it to. It's not going to dissuade my love of the game. I don't think I'll ever get to the point where I know many people, like my grandfather at one point was like, I can't with these salaries. I'm done. I'm like, all right, I get it. I don't think that'll ever be me. I'm not saying there's not a possibility, but I don't think that'll ever be me. I love the game too much. And we've seen enough, that spending the most money doesn't always guarantee you anything.
All right, I'm going to go with a more innocuous don't do this for a Monday morning. I watched your San Diego Seals on Saturday night pull out a terrific, 12-9 victory over the Calgary Roughnecks. Is it Roughnecks? That's there?
It is.
It is. Great third period comeback in which they scored 2 shorthanded goals.
Chippy, baby. During
a 5-minute major penalty that was somewhat questionable. Looked like it was just kind of an accident.
It was a flop.
And a flop, but they got 5 minutes, and the lacrosse gods punished them by giving them no goals during their 5 minutes and the Seals 2 goals and turning the entire game in the direction of the Seals. But the don't do this actually goes to the your Seals social media team. So Woodsy, after the game, posts a great picture of him with Bret Michaels from Poison, saying, Seals with a dub, got to visit with Bret Michaels, definitely not my worst night. Could not have been cooler. And you got the hang loose sign because Bret Michaels is doing the hang loose.
No, it's the rock horns.
Rock horns,
Yeah.
is that what it is? And it's not the pinky finger, it's the fourth, the ring finger is up.
No.
I can't. I don't know.
Dangerously close to hook 'em horns.
Yeah, I don't know. Can I do that without holding my finger down? I may be
Basically
incapable of
hook 'em
that.
horns. Woo. But you do it backwards, I think.
But then the Seals responded to your tweet by saying, "Thanks for coming. Go Seals." As though you were simply a fan who came to the game, bought a ticket, ran into Bret Michaels, got a picture, and had an enjoyable night. And not that you've worked for them for all 5 seasons and you're the public address announcer and part of their organization. There was a real, you know that commercial where the guy is going through security and the TSA agent says, have a good trip, and he goes, oh, you too, and then they make fun of him because she's not going on the trip. A real have a good trip vibe to that tweet by the Seals after the game.
Enjoy your meal. Thanks, you too.
I saw it. My friends jumped on it immediately, and started roasting me, essentially. Roasting them, but it was really roasting me. I immediately tweeted back the Rodney Dangerfield, no respect. Yeah, I've been there. I haven't missed a game. I've been the PA announcer since year 1. Now, like everything, there's turnover. I don't know who the new social media person is. She clearly doesn't know that I'm a part of the team. That one didn't. I was hoping that you wouldn't find this, but I figure I might as well just bury myself now. Are you ready for this one? So there was no one in that arena. No one that was more excited to meet Bret Michaels than me. No one. So I posted the picture of us on Instagram, on Twitter. I was so happy. So I then noticed he posted some stuff from the arena. And he's got a team that does it, but then they quoted him in it. Are you ready for the quote? Michael states, not only is Drew Brees an incredible quarterback and an athlete, but more importantly, a great father and one of the coolest people I've ever met. Simply put, Drew Brees rocks. Michaels continues, but most important, as a father, the family, and I could not be prouder to support Rain as a hardworking and dedicated sideline reporter, along with Melissa May, who's our in-game, takes the wireless round, and the booth commentators, Cooper Perkins and Nick Ocello, for the opening game of the season. The Seals fan base was wild and rowdy, and the party and big win were awesome. Congratulations to the San Diego Seals on their hard-fought victory. He mentioned everyone but me. Melissa and Cooper and Nick and his daughter, and I was left standing out in the cold singing Every Rose Has Its Thorn by myself. By myself. I don't care. I was so happy to meet him. But I don't know that anyone there knows I exist. After 5 years. You're turning into me, and I'm turning into you.
Pretty much.
This is weird. This is very, very,
very
weird.
strange. Oh, man. I'd like to see, like, Fernando after the game post, great dub, thanks for coming out. And the Padres, thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming to the game today. Yeah, hey, guess what? I'll be there next game, too, and the game after that.
You got me.
You got me. They really did think I was a fan that just showed up to a game and met Bret Michaels. No, I was the guy screaming, giving it all my heart. I was pouring sweat, getting the crowd hyped to go out and win that game. Man, it hurts, man.
Yeah.
There's only so many of those you can take. What are we doing here?
Yeah, we're going to thank some tier ones.
All right, go ahead.
DD Mega Doo-Doo.
Do this. You know, we have our holiday extravaganza coming up next Wednesday, and part of the annual tradition now is giving out gift cards to help people in need, families in need in San Diego, buy some extra gifts for the holidays. And we've upped it this year. We've got $1,000 gift cards to give away, and we have some great sponsors who have donated those $1,000 gift cards. Padilla Law Group, San Diego's father-son injury law firm. Visit PadillaLawGroup.com. The San Diego Seals. Get your tickets now at SealsLax.com. Thanks for coming, Woods. Yeah. Swami's Cafe, a spot to dine and unwind.
Check them out, guys.
And 7 Mile Casino, just 7 minutes from downtown. I'll tell you how you can get your nominations in a second, but this was amazing. I saw, so apparently we have a Discord chat for the tier ones
First
online.
You learned about it yesterday.
I was not aware of our Discord room.
Actually, had some people wanting to bet me if you knew we had a Discord.
I did not
and
know
I
we
said,
had
there's
a
no
Discord.
way.
But apparently there's a lot of accord in the Discord because Tier 1s have come together and they are working to raise another $1,000 just from donations to give another gift card to a family in need on our holiday extravaganza next Wednesday, which floored me. Absolutely blew my mind.
Touched
We have
me so
such
much,
an
man.
unbelievable listener base of Tier 1s that they would take it upon themselves to contribute to the holiday extravaganza.
I was blown
It's
away,
amazing.
man.
We got an early count right now. Our buddy Robert just put in the chat. Let me put it up there. They just hit $600 already.
Amazing.
They announced it last night. They've been working on it over the weekend, and we're already at 600.
So they have until Friday, and that's when we have to get everything, our ducks in a row. But that's $400 the rest of the week is all they need to raise from the rest of the Tier 1s to get another $1,000 gift card in there. That is absolutely amazing. If you want to nominate a family that you know that had a tough year and could use some extra holiday spending cash in form of a gift card, you can go to our website, 973thefan SD/holiday, write it in there, and then you'll hear on next Wednesday we call families and we surprise them with the news and give out those $1,000 gift cards, courtesy of our great sponsors and now our great Tier 1s as well. Couldn't be a better do this than that during the holiday season.
Thank you guys so much for that, too. That is just incredible for organizing that and doing that and giving. I know it's hard to give. Can't tell you how much we appreciate it. You blew me away. Thank you so much.
All right, do you want to call us with anything you've heard, react to the Ohtani signing?
Do not look at the rundown.
Oh, we've got Casey Stern coming up next. I am bad
This
at
is
this
like
now.
4 days in a row.
It's like
I am bad at the guests coming up. All right, we'll talk
I'm like,
to Casey
hurry
Stern
up.
coming up
I
next.
understand we're due to this.
you would
Let's wrap
think
it
he's
up.
got a golf trip today or
I
something.
don't.
Man.
I don't. Casey Stern, one of our great friends, smart baseball guy, host of the Unfiltered podcast. He will join us next, and then we can talk with the Tier 1s after that, right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We'll have the Titans-Dolphins game for you tonight. Coverage beginning at 4:30 here on 97.3 The Fan and on the free Odyssey app. Then it's Chargers-Raiders Thursday Night Football. There's actually 2 Monday Night Football games tonight.
Oh, really?
So you get your choice. I think ESPN has Titans-Dolphins, and then Packers-Giants is on ABC tonight. And all even with some playoff implications. Packers are currently holding the last wild card spot in the NFC after a wild NFL weekend. We'll get to some NFL talk in a little bit.
We'll get to the NFL. You guys get your Venmos ready to go.
But right now, Paulie's got his another Survivor win, didn't he? Adam lost. Paulie had the had the 49ers.
All right, let's get to our
again.
guest, for the love of God.
All right.
What is happening?
We will have Casey Stern standing
Forgotten
by.
how to do radio on the show in the last week.
This is part of radio. I gotta read a liner about our NFL game here.
I'm so sorry, Casey.
Casey's going to join us right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Vicki Pepper.
805 north at Claremont Mesa, a Siglard. A very serious accident from early this morning has you down to just one lane. You're at a standstill from the 15, going to cost you about half an hour. And 5 north at the 163, a disabled vehicle in the number 4 lane. I'm Vicki Pepper, in for Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
We've got Casey Stern on the line, host of the Unfiltered podcast. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if we wanted to just chat amongst ourselves about the Bronny James return for the
I'm so sorry,
USC
Casey.
Trojans
Jesus
yesterday.
God.
Or perhaps you want to talk about the San Diego Sockers with a big road win yesterday. Sorry, Casey, to make you wait. My apologies.
My Lord.
That's all right, boys. I'm a New York Giants fan, so it's a nice reminder when you mention them just how crappy their season's been. How you guys doing, okay?
They're back in the playoff hunt.
Yep,
Come
they
on,
are.
if they win, they're right back in it tonight.
Oh, yeah.
He
In the
doesn't
world
believe
of
it.
mediocrity. Thank you, Tommy DeVito. I appreciate it. By the way, if you're the good news is if you lose on any bets or wagers, I know a guy who just made $700 million who probably could loan everybody a few bucks.
You know, Case, and you and I were in lockstep on this Shohei to the Dodgers thing. I did not buy 1 second of Morosi's stuff on Friday. I've always felt it. I've been saying it for a year. He's a Dodger. We all know he's going to be a Dodger, man, and that's a lot of money, certainly. But I got to tell you, I spent my weekend kind of combing every article I could find. I was looking for one person that said this is a terrible deal. I really couldn't find it. I found one guy that was Will Leach, I think, was the only guy that said, yeah, I don't know that I would have given him that much money. But other than that, man, rave reviews.
There's one person who could do what he can do that has ever lived. And think about in the grand scheme beyond sport, of when you could ever say that. And you can say that here in this case. And he's one of one, and that's how he got paid. And when you're sitting there and you're the Toronto Blue Jays and some of these other teams, to your point on the Dodgers, you're in there to just give a sniff enough to the Dodgers that there's somehow a possibility he'll go elsewhere to bump that money as much as possible. But part of this is, guys, we all thought that there would be an opt-out in this deal. So part of why he's making so much money in addition to who he is the fact that he is saying, hey, look, I'm guaranteed I'm going to be with you during this entire time period. I'm not going to opt out after year 2 once I'm pitching again to go put myself back out into the market. Yeah. So if you give me all of these dollars after this injury, I will then do a service to you and say I'm never going to leave. And that's how we got here at this $700 million deal, including, of course, all the deferred money, which allows the Dodgers luxury tax and whatnot to be in a situation that they can build a competitive championship caliber team every year during this decade.
Casey, let's go back in time, and I don't know if the Dodgers will ever fully admit it, but they were playing the long game, right? Last year when they essentially signed no big free agents, let Trey Turner go, didn't replace him, didn't have anyone for, Gavin Lux's replacement when he got injured. They were always trying to get under the luxury tax to save the money, to gear up, to send Shohei Ohtani an offer that he could not refuse this offseason.
There is absolutely no doubt about it. And I would even compound not just Trey Turner, but Justin Turner, who even at his age, you think about what he had meant to them. You think about the fact that they had taken flyers and look, some worked when you think of Jason Hayward, but they were doing non-Dodger-like things. And in a situation like, as you guys know, certainly first and foremost in San Diego, where the Padres had become big-time competition, you would think it would have made the Dodgers ramp up even more, push the pedal down even further financially, but instead they stepped back because they knew what we all knew. Sometimes common sense wins out. He's already in the area, loves the area, is comfortable. He, with any other team outside of the Atlanta Braves, I would argue, we're not going to be a better roster or team than he would be with the Dodgers. Hollywood and all the money that he makes off the field and can, because I've always said this, in baseball, it is hard to kind of transcend and go beyond the sport. You're in a baseball box. It's why we had an NFC championship game with the Eagles years ago. Got a lower third on Mike Trout coming off an MVP season to tell football fans who the heck the guy is. Everyone knows, regardless of whether they like baseball or not, who Ohtani is. So the money he'll make off the field, being in Hollywood with the Dodgers, what they do on the field, it always made too much sense for both. And absolutely, the Dodgers positioned themselves to make this kind of an offer, and it worked.
Talking to our pal Casey Stern, host of the Unfiltered podcast, one of our favorite guests of all time, smart baseball man. All right, so we know the good. We know the good that he can bring. He is a total unicorn, like you said, one of one. What are the potential, other than, catastrophic injury, which nobody wants to see? I don't care what team you're a fan of. Nobody wants to see that. What are the potential pitfalls of a deal like this?
I don't have many. I mean, the one that you inferred in terms of the injury, I mean, to me, the biggest pitfall of all is that you get a guy who predominantly is Shohei Ohtani, the hitter, and we don't ever, for whatever reason, get to the level of where they're putting him out there in a doubleheader. He's pitching one game, hitting home runs in both, and all those crazy unconscious things that he was doing for the Angels, who clearly didn't care enough or know because they fumbled the biggest bag ever again. It is the worst handling at a trade deadline in, forget the 20 years I'm covering this, in the history of Major League Baseball to get nothing for this player. But outside of the fact that he cannot pitch at the highest level or as frequently as he was, I don't really see any pitfalls, because what he's going to do for them financially in a business sense is something we never talk about. And the Dodgers certainly make clearly tons of money. Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and all the winning and all the Walker Buehlers and all of that is going to bring you plenty of cash. But what Shohei brings is totally different. And on the business end, the Dodgers will make so much money back off this deal, something nobody will talk about, that there really are no pitfalls outside of him not being able to be that unicorn because he can't pitch consistently.
Would it have been the same? I mean, if the Cubs had scraped it together and put together the offer, because the way you're making it sound, and I think you're absolutely right, because I've heard it from baseball people as well, is you get this guy, he's a money printing factory. Every team he could do this for. Does it have to be Hollywood? Does it have to be New York? Were those really, and I know he I guess expressed interest or disinterest in playing in New York, wanted to stay on the West Coast. What if the Mariners had cobbled it together? Is he still going to do for that franchise what he would do for LA?
I don't think it's the same, because it's just not the same market in the same area. When we're talking about market in this case, we're not talking about market necessarily in sports market. We're talking about Hollywood, with no offense to people who have actually been to Anaheim and know they should never be called the Los Angeles Angels, because the amount of time you spend on that 5 freeway, forget about it. You could be there for hours. So I think, to me, because of the area, guys, that it is, and because he is really a star that's beyond any star we've seen. And I go back to Mike Trout, because to me, of all the statistics and all the money that we could put on how much he's going to make per second, there is no statistic that is more damning and harder to understand if you go to the consciousness of reality of where we were 2-3 years ago than if I ever would have told you, watching Mike Trout when he got that $426 million deal, that there would be any player alive ever who would be making, and yet alone a teammate of his, a former teammate, during the same time period, making $300 million more for 2 less years. That is crazy. You would have never thought there would be a player who would be worth $30 million more total in a deal.
Yeah.
He's getting $300 million nearly total for 2 less years. That's the kind of thing he brings. And to me, it was always the Dodgers. I feel bad that the Jays got used. I feel bad that the guy from Shark Tank was on the plane instead. But at the end of the day, this was always a Dodger thing. I mean, the fact that we sat there and we went through all of that, and we've got writer on writer crime now with Bob Nightengale and JP Morosi, 2 guys I like personally and respect. I mean, that to me is a whole different story. But at the end of the day, it was just diverting everybody from the inevitability. Ohtani was always going to be a Dodger.
I do disagree with you on one point, Casey, respectfully. I think Shohei Ohtani would have had a bigger impact financially on a team like the Giants. The Dodgers are already a mega brand and will continue to be a mega brand, but they can't really sell any more tickets. They can't increase their TV deal. It's already locked in and absolutely huge. Sure, They will add, jersey sales and marketing across as any other team would. I think the Giants would have been the game changer. I mean, for a team that's won 3 World Series in the last 13 years, it's still a fairly low-profile team.
Yeah.
Saw what happened to the Golden State Warriors when they jumped up, went to the Bay Area. They're now a huge NBA brand. They weren't. I feel like the Giants have the most to gain from a signing like that, and they probably are the biggest losers so far this offseason.
Well, I would say this, and look, I do agree with you. Let's kind of the dichotomy of the 2 different points. I think in terms of for the team, yeah, the Cubs needed him more than the Dodgers.
Yeah.
You could say, going back to the New York teams, if they were involved, the Mariners, certainly the Jays, anybody else. I'm saying that for Ohtani himself, I think the value was clearly there more than anywhere else for him to be in LA because of the money he'll make. But yeah, at the end of the day, look, if the Dodgers don't get Ohtani, they put money into it. Either they go get Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery and whoever and add a couple of pieces, bring Bellinger back, who knows, whatever. And they still got Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, and they're still right there. And they are on how many division titles now? I think clearly for the Chicago Cubs, to me, though, would have been the biggest. They just spent $40 million on Craig Counsell. Whether it's an overpay or not, he's one of the best managers in the game, and I don't think anybody can dispute that. They're the Chicago Cubs. They had a good season, became more relevant, but what they would do to restamp themselves on the map and to put that city as a baseball city again and all those different things that they could have done in one foul swoop, for me, in that term, in terms of what team would have had the most gain, I would put the Chicago Cubs. But for Ohtani personally, this should have always been the Dodgers, and it always made the most sense for him on and off the field to stay in L.A.
Talking to Casey Stern, host of the Unfiltered podcast. And one last question for me. Does Major League Baseball have to immediately now address and clarify the deferred money, the impact on the competitive balance tax, the luxury tax, and what the Dodgers are doing to essentially circumvent it so they still have, the cash to sign other players and pitchers while paying Shohei Ohtani $70 million a year, whether it's now or later, but only going to get charged about $40 million for it under the CBT?
Yeah, I think in hindsight, there's nothing they can do, obviously, to change it, and they can't say boo about what has been done. But if they want to present this as something that they want to change moving forward, so teams cannot do this, because we've seen deferred money. I'll go back to the Scherzer deal was the first time when I think it was $210 million total, but a lot of deferred money at that time when he signed with the Nationals with Scott Boras, and there have been a lot since. Then there's something that they can do. But at the end of the day, we need to realize there aren't any other Ohtanis coming.
Yeah.
There's no other person that's coming that's going to be in this range. So he's such an outlier that I don't know necessarily that we're going to see anybody else who would put them in this kind of position in terms of the league.
Interesting stuff, man. I mean, I know they created a rule for Steve Cohen after he went nuts, a whole new bracket, and but yeah, we'll see what happens, man. It was certainly an interesting weekend, but not a real surprising one. Case, we thank you for your time. Happy holidays, man. Best to you and yours.
Anytime, boys. Be well, and hug a Blue Jays fan if you see him. My goodness.
Thank you, Casey.
I don't know any Blue Jays.
I do.
know one.
I know one.
I bet he's very upset.
He's Canadian. He was sure when I saw him this weekend that the Blue Jays were going to get Ohtani. He's probably very bummed right now.
That's a bad feeling, man.
Yeah.
JP Morosi is probably not too welcome in Canada.
A little tweet here from Alton Gonzalez. Sources, the Yankees are sending shortstop prospect Trey Sweeney to the Dodgers in exchange for left-handed relief pitcher Victor Gonzalez and second baseman, third baseman Yorvit Vivas. This clears 2 40-man roster spots to make room for Shohei Ohtani and Joe Kelly.
Okay.
So
the
now
deal
maybe
is
the
imminent.
Dodgers can announce it and have the press conference. I think they should do a press conference. Ohtani, Joe Kelly, and Nabil Chrismat, who also signed with the Dodgers over the weekend. Just have the 3 of them up there all together at a table answering questions from the media. I wonder how many Nabil would get in that scenario.
Probably 0. I mean,
Good for
Joe
Nabil.
Kelly.
Good for
probably
Nabil.
wouldn't
Happy
get
for
it.
Nabil.
Are you?
Yeah, it's back in the big leagues, or at least a minor league invitation, I think. Not a full big league roster spot for Nabil Chrismat.
I mean, if you're the Padres, you're probably happy that he's on that team to come out of the bullpen. He's not an overpowering guy. A great guy.
He's
Very
not.
great
guy.
But he's not a guy that you're like, oh, God, I got to gear
You're not
it up.
terrified.
No.
Yeah. Joe Kelly drives me crazy.
He drives me nuts. Yeah.
Drives
me
absolutely
nuts.
crazy. Why does he keep going back to the Dodgers? I don't understand.
He's on the right team. He's on the right team. I love Case, man. Case is the best. Appreciate that, him jumping on with us this morning. And yeah, man, it is certainly like nothing we've ever seen. That deal over the weekend, and again, based on this, I guess, recent move clearing these spots, assuming the Dodgers will announce sometime today.
Can you break out your Patrick Mahomes frog voice for me sometime?
I'm so tired of these refs. I can't. It hurts my throat.
Up here, I love that one. Everyone is piling on Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Chiefs for what happened
like an
yesterday.
Absolute
He looked like a baby
throwing a temper
did.
tantrum.
He did. He looked like a baby.
So I guess
you can't spin that.
I guess I got an unpopular take coming up next with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station. 2 hours to go here on a Monday on 97.3 The Fan. We'll be right
We are halfway home on a Monday. Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan. Great to be here with you. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl, the executive producer. Benjamin Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor as well. And we are your guys, man, and you are our guys and girls, so we really appreciate you. You're admiring my new trough that I brought in today.
You are well hydrated this morning.
I always am.
You're going to have to go to the bathroom even more than you already do, which is quite
it's a lot.
A considerable amount that you pop in there
about
during
every
the
15
show.
minutes.
Yeah.
You think I'd be skinnier with as much water as I drink, but in all of the hubbub on Saturday night of meeting Brett Michaels and getting a record signed and getting, a picture with him and all that, I misplaced my big green water bottle. If you watch us on YouTube, and you can, you'll always see me pulling from the big green water bottle, and it's gone. And I think I left it at Pechanga. I may find it again, but it was beat. It was beat. I dropped it 100 times. It was dented. There were leaks in it. It just didn't work anymore. So I told my wife, I go, you're going to kill me, but she hates when you lose stuff, like most moms do. I said, I think I lost my water bottle. She goes, I got you one for Christmas. And I go, you did? She goes, yeah, I'll get it for you now.
Oh, I love that.
And I said, oh, my God, that's amazing.
She could have held out and, waited for the surprise and made you go the next 2 weeks without a water bottle.
Yeah.
But instead, she just jumped right to your rescue.
And she got me this big one.
Now she has to go get you something else, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Open.
She better replace this. And she made it personalized.
Like that handle?
It says stove on it because that is what she calls me, stove. And it's a big Yeti, and it's got a handle on it. It looks like a big trough. It's a giant, it's very heavy. I can do kettlebell squats with it. I can do kettlebell swings with it.
Looks like what Ma carried out to the well. Except it's not made out of wood. It's made out of metal.
And here it is, my new bad boy. I like it very much. It's difficult to lean over at night when you're laying in bed, and you have to unscrew it.
It's a two-hander.
It's magnetized. The top is magnetized, so boom. And then you're laying in bed, and you're like...
spilling everywhere.
Trying to drink it, put that back. So, yeah, she...
a glass of water besides that's so 30 years ago. Yeah, I'll just have a glass of water.
Glass of water. What kind
of
pervert just puts a glass of water next to his bed? Well, Seven Vinny says, it looks like you're going to oil up a bunch of F-150s with that beast. It's true. It's true. So, got my new, you guys will see it on the stream. You can watch us on YouTube at Ben and Woods. But, yeah, so what do you guys want to talk about here?
Well, I mean, we've talked a ton of Ohtani. I feel like Mike Schilt's first order of business, which he said was, we need to compete for division titles, none of this wild card stuff.
Yeah.
I saw a
little bit of a hit.
Saw a number of pieces. Well, all of a sudden, the Padres are simply in the wild card race again. Basically handing the division title over to the Dodgers before 2024 even starts.
I can do you better than that one.
Seems a little early, but...
Did you see Hacksaw's tweet over the weekend?
No.
You didn't?
I don't follow Hacksaw. I've told you that.
I don't either.
Pilates.
I don't either. But how did you miss this?
He just said he doesn't follow him.
I don't either, but I saw it. It was everywhere. He said, like I said on KUSI this morning, if Dodgers get Ohtani after Padres dealt away Soto, the Padres season is over. Before it ever started, season is over.
Just like the Dodgers season was over when they did not do anything to replace Trey Turner and the Padres got Xander Bogaerts. Season was over last year. Except they finished 18 games ahead of the Padres at the end of the year.
I don't think...
We got to play the games.
It's what Oral Hershiser and Joe Kelly taught us at the beginning of last year after we lost the first game. That's why you play the games. Cancel the parade. This is absolutely no guarantee that the Dodgers will advance further than the San Diego Padres in the postseason. Is it going to help them win the regular season? Yeah. Do they usually win the regular season? Yeah. But to say that the season is over...
Cancel the parade. That's why you play the games.
I would like to play that slap fight game with both of them. You absolutely... Like the Diamondbacks. No, everyone had them for dead. The Orioles, everyone had them for dead. The Texas Rangers, nobody really had them winning a World Series. It's important, Lee, and you know this. Lee, you've been covering sports for 50 years. Maybe more. You know damn well this means nothing other than they got a really good hitter in their lineup. They added one piece, and it's not the NBA. It's not even the NFL with a quarterback. It's such a different animal. And you know that. The season is far from over. It's far from over. There's still plenty to be excited about. There's still plenty of good players. Do I think we'll win the West? If you asked me today, no, I don't think we'll win the West. Do I think we'll win the West if we added 4 more top free agents? Probably not. They are really good at winning the West. It's what they do best. And if that was the ultimate prize, they'd be the best team in baseball history, because nobody wins the West like the LA Dodgers. But I think this past season, the format has shown you, get in the dance and let the chips fall where they may. We didn't make the dance last year. I feel like had we made the dance last year, we could have made some noise. Easy for me to sit here and say that today, but I did feel that was the plan. We're going to build this team for October. The season's not over. Don't think that. And it's not because I need you to listen to our show. It's because that's a dumb take. It's baseball. There's 162 of those bad boys to go. You don't know who's going to get hurt. You don't know who's going to rebound, bounce back. You don't know who's the bright light's going to be too big. It happens all the time. You know enough about this game, Lee, to know that that's not a tweet you should send.
I never was like last year. I was never like, oh, yeah, the Padres have got this in the bag now this year. Never felt that way. I mean, I was optimistic and confident that they would challenge the Dodgers at least going into the season, but it was never in my mind that the Padres should win the West going away last season.
We did say, and I can remember saying it 100 times, and I'll absolutely stand on top of it with both feet. We said all the time, if you're going to win the West, this is a good year to do it with what seems like a scale back from the Dodgers.
Correct.
Going out and getting Hayward and some of the other guys they got, you just kind of, you went, bro, you just let Turner go. I mean, to their credit, I said it too, and I stand by this. Last year's regular season was the best managing Dave Roberts has ever done, ever, in his entire tenure. He had to really, really find a way to finagle innings from young pitchers, guys that were ineffective, guys that were hurt. But that means nothing, man. None of that means a thing, Lee. You know better. You're smarter than that. The season is not over, Padres fans. It's not. And I promise you, the players, Manny and Fernando and Xander and those guys, they don't think the season's over either. Trust me, they don't. Joe, they're ready to compete. I'm not saying they'll win the West. I'm not that dumb, but they have absolutely a chance to be there at the end.
If you want to chime in, or as Lee would say, sound off with us, 833-288-0973. You can call and talk about Ohtani and the Padres here on 97.3 The Fan. I did want to bring up the Patrick Mahomes meltdown at the end of the Chiefs-Bills game yesterday. I think most people saw it. Bills kick a field goal. They go up 20-17. Chiefs driving down either for a field goal or maybe a touchdown to win. And they pull off what was really one of the coolest plays you'll ever see. And give Travis Kelce the lion's share of the credit. Patrick Mahomes hits him around, the 30-yard line. He's running forward. This was not, I don't believe, a design play. He simply saw Kadarius Toney to his left without anybody around him and turned and fired a lateral pass across the field. Perfect throw. And Tony
it was not like a designed hook and ladder.
No. This was This was just genius impromptu football by Travis Kelce that led to one of the coolest touchdowns you'll ever see that would have given the Chiefs at least probably a 4-point lead with a minute to go in that game against the Bills. Now, the Bills might have gone down and scored. We don't know. Of course, it never happened because the play was called back on an offsides penalty on Toney, who was lined up in the neutral zone on offense. A very rare call, but certainly one you've seen at least a couple of times to start the play. And when you went and saw the replays, there really wasn't much doubt that he was lined up offsides.
No, there was no doubt.
The reason
My guy
why
was practically playing defensive tackle.
He really was.
The reason why I'm a little less. Almost everybody has lit up Patrick Mahomes for losing his mind and melting down after the game. He's screaming at the refs. He's even sour grapes in it with Josh Allen and the handshake at the middle of the field.
I've ever seen, man. Offensive offsides on that camera. Terrible.
It's terrible.
Andy Reid called it embarrassing. I will point out two things, and I don't know how much of this is true or not, but Reid pointed it out that on offensive offsides, he says for the most part, the ref will just tell the player to move back a little bit, and if it doesn't happen, they'll usually give a warning like, hey, just make sure your guy's lined up, and they don't always throw that flag. There is some discretion.
Tip the coach off in case he needs to call a timeout.
Yeah, there is some discretion usually applied to that call because it is sometimes difficult to ascertain, exactly lined up straight along the line, I guess. And so, that's the way the officials have generally called it. What I am less, though, concerned about, because it was a penalty, I thought that Patrick Mahomes at least was very consistent because the week before, the Chiefs were the victim of a horrendous non-call, one of the worst non-pass interference calls you're ever going to see. And Patrick Mahomes, after the game, did not shed one tear about it and actually said, I actually respect that. I think the game should be decided by the players and not by not by flags that the officials are deciding the game at the end. So I'm not going to be mad about that. We didn't make the play. Yeah, it was probably pass interference, but we got to go out and make the play to win the game. So when a play the next week happens and his teammate undoubtedly makes an incredible play to essentially maybe win the game, and it gets called back on a penalty that did not really impact the play at all, a guy lining up a little bit in front of where he should have, I can see why, at least for consistency's sake, he is being true to what he said the week before. I want the game decided by players on the field, not yellow hankies that are thrown in circumstances that don't really affect what's going on. And
I saw the picture, and he probably is. Barely offsides. But for him to take the game into his hands over a call like that doesn't affect the play at all, didn't affect anything. It's just tough, man. And like I said, man, that's a Hall of Fame tight end making a Hall of Fame play that won't be shown because we threw a flag for an offensive offsides. And so it takes away from not only this game and this season, but from a legendary career that Travis has had, and that hurts me because I know how hard he works for it.
Well, you're fine.
He's a little worked up. I totally get that. He's a little worked up. Did the Chiefs pretty much do what they had to do? Do the Bills know that they got away with one there at the end? Because they didn't do anything to cause him to be offsides. Nope. They didn't make the play they needed to make to stop the Chiefs on a critical situation. The Bills know deep in their hearts they got lucky. They got away with one because that guy lined up a little bit too. They didn't do anything to win that game at the end. The Chiefs just handed it to them on a silver platter. They got a little lucky there at the end. If they met in the playoffs, I would imagine another good game would take place.
Yeah, you're such a literal person. This is why it surprises me.
I am. But I also believe that officiating is not about enforcing the rule book to the letter every single time. If NBA officials enforce the rule book to the letter every single time, there'd be a foul on every trip down the court. If NFL officials enforce the rule book on every single play, there would be a flag on every single play. There'd be holding on every single play, and we wouldn't watch the sport anymore. It's the job of officials to try to create a level playing field and get the right outcome, hopefully, at the end of the game.
Agreed, but that said, when it's so glaring, don't you have to throw the flag? It's not the job of the official isn't to...
did they have another option? Could he have said something to Andy Reid like, get your guy back or I'm going to throw a flag or do something? Was there another option other than throwing that flag?
How just furious would Buffalo be?
Dude, of course, because it's so egregious. It's not that... Make no mistake.
That's
not a ticky-tack call.
The Eagles early in the season got away with, 400 false starts when their left tackle jumps early every single time. Does. Do we want to see 400 false start flags every single game? I don't know.
They're basically, every time I watch them play, it's Lane Johnson, and he every time he's a beat ahead. And they're like, at this point, they're just giving everybody an extra beat. They give everybody an extra beat with the clock. The clock strikes
which
zero,
I don't mind either.
And you still get that kind of extra beat.
I'd rather see the play run. When they've snapped the ball with 1/2 a second after the zero, I'd rather see the play than see a flag and 5 yards
whistle,
and stop everything. They're making it a better game by doing that.
I don't remember if it was Richard Sherman or Darrelle Revis, but one of them did an interview, and they said, I'll even tell the refs, I'm going to hold on every single play. because I know you're not going to throw a flag on every single play. And that's kind of the way it works.
It's to that one to me when they show him, and you're like, but again,
now the ref who threw the flag didn't know that it was going to be an epic,
right.
Game-changing, season-changing play potentially that was coming back. He saw a guy offsides. He threw the flag. I can't blame that necessarily.
I was a little
either.
surprised they don't blow the whistle and blow the play dead as soon as the ball is snapped.
That's actually a good point.
Like they do that on false
What's
starts.
the point of running a play? If you know it's coming back. That's why on a false start, they stop it. They blow the whistle. It's 5 yards.
Now, if the offense gets the defense to jump, they'll give them the free play.
Well, it also goes back to the warning, right? It's the warning. I got called for a balk one time, and I wasn't warned, and I was livid. I balked, but I was like, you didn't warn me. And he's like, it's not my job to warn you. You need to not balk. That's your job. I'm like, but I've always gotten a warning. From Little League on, hey, make sure you pause, right? Like, you hear that all the time. You try to quick pitch somebody, and they're come set. Yeah, come set. Hey, bro, just come set. I'm not going to bang you for it this time. He banged me for it. The first one, and I'm like, what, are you out of your mind? Yeah, I balked. It was me. I balked, but I thought Ryan Phillips.
Woods was out there. I didn't balk.
I did not balk.
That's terrible.
Set.
Terrible.
Ryan Phillips had a good tweet about
I wonder
it last
if his
night.
dad really did sound like that, too, when he yelled.
No. Have you not heard his dad talk?
Doesn't sound at all like that.
God, he's amazing. He's incredible. I don't know where it came from. But Ryan Phillips, our buddy, tweeted last night. He goes, seriously, the Chiefs receivers have cost this team multiple games this season. Drops, penalties, fumbles, stupid decisions. It's insane. With one good receiver, KC is the number 1 seed. 1,000%. At the end of the day, you can yell at the refs. Bro, you have lined up, Tony, for how many snaps in your career? In your life? What, 2,000? Put your foot on the line. It's such an easy. Oh, crap, I'm a little bit over. All right, now I'm good. We're talking a game of inches here. It's the attention to detail that murdered that team. You can't be mad they threw a flag on a play that was so egregiously a penalty.
That's 100% true what Ryan said. The Chiefs have self-inflicted their way back to the pack and cost themselves likely the number 1 seed, making a playoff run much more difficult. Now, there's no one else in the AFC that I totally trust. When you say, well, this isn't the Chiefs' year, they're not going to go back to the Super Bowl. All right, who is? Ravens? I don't know. I mean, they barely got by the Rams at home yesterday. Dolphins? Yeah, I like the Dolphins. They lost to the Chiefs already in London earlier this year. So,
well, it's shaping up. This is what we want.
I mean, it's going to be wide open in the AFC, but wide open means it could also still be the Chiefs that make it out to the or to the Super Bowl this year.
He's going to Mahomes most likely going to have to play a playoff game on the road for the first time ever.
Yeah,
almost certainly. Well, unless they lose the first one at home and then
Super Bowl obviously doesn't count. Super Bowl's neutral site. He has never had to play a playoff game.
They got the Broncos in their rearview mirror now. The once 1-5 Broncos are now breathing down the necks, a game behind the Chiefs, I believe, at this point after they beat the Chargers yesterday. So, if you have a thought on that, you can join us 833-288-0973.
I want to talk about what do the Padres need to do next. Also, I want to find out.
It's got to be something here.
Yeah, but it can't be reactionary. You can't go and overpay because Shohei Ohtani is a $700 million man. You're not going to be able to play in that arena. That's fine. How do you make this team better? And, go out and at least put a playoff team on the field next year.
This hour of Ben Woods brought to you by Smart & Final. This holiday season, shop groceries and baking needs in one trip, and that's it at Smart & Final. And we're back after Vicky's traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Topic right above you, Woodsy, on MLB Network is what should teams that lost out in the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes do next? And Padres weren't mentioned because no one considers them having lost out on the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes. But saw they popped up, what should the Giants do next? And all of a sudden some B-roll of Jung-Hoo Lee comes up. So clearly baseball media is now pushing the Jung-Hoo Lee to the Giants narrative.
Is that how we're always going to feel?
And thus, creating, I'm sure, doing Scott Boris's bidding here and creating more of a market, more desperation from teams that need an outfielder to try to sign his client. Scott Boris does a good job of that, and no doubt he is reveling in any talk that has Jung-Hoo Lee going to multiple suitors at this point. Because we know the Padres are definitely reportedly interested in the Korean outfielder to fill one of those two gaping slots in their outfield right now.
God, we haven't brought up gaping holes in a while because...
That's why I said slots. I felt
fine.
like you'd make fun if I said gaping holes.
No, because we did... Remember last year, we actually asked A.J. Preller about gaping holes at spring training. It was either last year or the year before.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
I didn't give Jurickson Profar much credit for being a starting everyday outfielder for the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, and I think you actually said in the interview something to the effect of, is this how you're going to address these gaping holes? And then I remember Padres CEO Eric Grupner throughout the season tweeting very, very vociferously about one Jurickson Profar when he would do something good. I almost felt like it was a shot at you because you had called it a gaping hole. And they, he filled in left field pretty admirably. So we will see. Maybe Jurickson Profar is somebody that is on the Padres' radar. I don't know. But the depth of this team still, if anyone goes down to injury, Ben, it's very lean right now. Very, very lean.
Well, you can't address depth until you've
have
addressed
a starter.
Starth, if that's a word.
Start.
You got to address start before you address depth.
So the start is bad and the depth is bad.
It doesn't make any sense to have a lot of depth behind no start.
It's true. Depth is cheaper. Depth is cheaper than start.
It is cheaper.
And you can get depth without having start.
I mean, you can be very happy about the long options on your bench, but when you look out there and you only have one outfielder to start the game, those long options on the bench all of a sudden are your starters, and now your bench that you were so proud of has been depleted by the fact that you're using them to start the game.
Yeah, they go from depth to start very, very quickly. I love that you made up a new word today, start. Yeah, there's some issues at start for the San Diego Padres.
I mean, you can sort of go backwards, and if you have an idea, you can build your depth and then, target the guys that you expect to be starting. But if you never address the guys who are starting, you're not actually building depth at all.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you never address them, but at some point, you do. There's a roster that needs to be filled out. There's some holes.
It's a good point, though. It was the biggest problem for the Padres last year was the lack of depth.
I'd say the runners in scoring position early in the season, the lack of success in one-run games early in the season, and then the sheer lack of depth where you just could not give anyone a blow. No one could get a breather. You had to be in the lineup every day. There was no question about it. Losing too many games to give a guy a day off. Didn't have anybody to step in and fill the roles. I don't want to sit here and... AJ, if he heard those shows when he signed Matt Carpenter and Nelson Cruz, if he listened to those shows, and I know he doesn't, but somebody does for him and lets him know things that we say, I'm positive of that. We were all for it. In our minds, it all made sense. Nelson Cruz coming off of this, he's got this eye surgery. He's going to be great. And you can see, finally.
$1 million.
$1 million, no big deal. Matt Carpenter, that's a little pricier for him, but you need a lefty bat with some pop in it.
Look how he finished in New York.
Look how he finished. Okay, yeah, hell yeah. You platoon them. Those guys were horrific. They were horrific and did nothing for you.
I mean, and even if they had been decent offensively, they also didn't contribute to any of that depth
Correct.
because you couldn't use them
Couldn't
anywhere
use them
else. You
anywhere
still,
else.
even if it doesn't get brought up enough, even had Nelson Cruz and Matt Carpenter both had decent seasons, sure, the Padres would have won more games. It would have helped to have that kind of offensive designated hitter. Bob Melvin's hands would have still been tied, though, in terms of giving guys days off. You wouldn't have had the option to put them even at DH because, well, we have our DHs. Who was going to back up Manny? Who was going to back up Tatis and Soto? They were still all going to have to play virtually every day, which they all did until Manny got hurt late in the season and started DHing. But had they been successful at DH, then you would have been taking out one of your successful players from the lineup just to put Manny in there. It was never really a well thought out plan entirely to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, it boiled down to execution. They didn't execute at all. And like you said, it's a good point you make. Even if they had executed better, you were still kind of behind the eight ball because of the guys that you brought in. And one of those guys is still here in Matt Carpenter, and he's making almost $6 million. You got to find out if he brings anything to the table at all this season. So lot to be nervous about, certainly, if you're a Padres fan.
All right, you got some thoughts. You can join us next, 833-288-0973. Promise, we will get to some of the Tier 1 phone calls. I know you've been calling in, and I have been not going to the phones yet, but we'll give you that opportunity. Coming up next here, don't go away. More Ben and Woods next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We will, as Padres fans, learn more about Michael King, and we'll learn more about Johnny Brito as the time goes on, and Vasquez, the pitchers that the Padres acquired from the Yankees. But I am already a giant Kyle Higashioka fan.
Oh, me too.
And it's not just because he shreds on guitar.
That's why I am.
It's also because the Padres seem to have a steal, because backup catchers have gotten ridiculously expensive this offseason. And I point my argument number one this weekend comes from the Cleveland Guardians signing one Austin Hedges to a $4 million guaranteed contract.
That's unreal to me.
To hit like 070 for them next season.
Here's the funny thing about that. When I saw that come through, I went, you guys had him. You
saw it.
So maybe his, is a cheerleader and a good catcher worth that much? And like he's a good catcher.
He went to the Astros, right?
Rangers.
Yeah,
and won the World Series.
Won the World Series, and then came
from the Guardians.
Now he's going back to the Guardians.
Yeah. They'd seen him before. They know what he brings offensively, which is less than nothing. And they still said, yeah, we got $4 million to spend. We want to spend it on Hedgie. Now, he may be a freaking manager in training. You know what I mean? Like catchers, grooming the next young baseball manager in the next 10 years, the next coach, maybe they have a young catcher they want him to crash Davis it for. You have no idea. But $4 million is a lot of dough when we got Kyle Higashioka for 2.2. I think
and while he's not going to be an all-star behind the plate, he's going to give you solid work behind the dish. Hit you his 10 home runs in his 70 games or whatever you need for a backup catcher. But I love the person the Padres are getting. He posted on his, I think, Instagram feed over the weekend just such a great message to Yankees fans as he left. He wrote, "As I reflect on my 16 seasons with the Yankees organization," 16, I had no idea. Came into the organization as a 17-year-old. I have nothing but gratitude to express to the fans, my teammates, the organization, the Steinbrenner family for the many incredible moments we've all shared during my time in Pinstripes. From the day I was drafted to sharing a spring training clubhouse with Hall of Fame players as a 19-year-old kid, to finally making my major league debut after 10 years in the minor leagues, to taking an eternity to get my first hit, to having a 3-homer game, catching a no-hitter in a perfect game, watching Judge hit 62 and Cole win the Cy Young. I've made so many memories and formed so many relationships with this organization that I am so grateful for. Thank you to my teammates for being like brothers to me and always pushing me to be the best player I can be. Thank you to the organization and the Steinbrenner family for the opportunities given to me that have allowed me to become a major league ball player. And thank you to the fans for always making me feel at home and loved in New York. It blew my mind every time I would see a 66 jersey in the wild. There aren't many of them, but the fact that anyone would spend their hard-earned money just to support me is crazy to think about. Without all you fans, we wouldn't be getting paid to play a game for a living, so thank you again. Now, I'm incredibly excited to start this new chapter in my career as a San Diego Padre, getting to know a new group of guys and working towards bringing a world championship to San Diego. Kyle Higashioka.
Yeah, excited to meet him too, and I loved him shredding The Trooper by Iron Maiden. That gives you a lot of points in my book.
But that was genuine. That was that wasn't a PR person writing that. Yeah. That was genuine. You can just tell the way he wrote that. I loved that.
Yeah, I liked it too. But again, I'm not going to, he's a backup catcher. I'm excited about it too, though. I am. Seems like the kind of guy that you could develop a relationship. Seems like the kind of guy that gets it. Those are always good for radio, certainly. But how much will he help the Padres on the field? I don't know. A lot. I mean, he's got some skins on the wall, and knows how to catch and knows how to call a game. And so, yeah, I mean, it's great.
He'll probably help some.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm excited about, though. Baseball is. Yes, it's about winning and getting to the playoffs and winning a World Series. But remember, it's also a sport where you're 6 months and then spring training where you're following a team. It's good to have guys you like and can support and root for, even if they're not always the best players. We love the Brian O'Grady's 100%. Of the world and the Matt Stroms and the guys who are not the top 5 player on the roster. They're important too, and what kind of make you love the game at the same time.
No question about it.
And it feels like, Kyle Higashioka will probably be the number, 23 guy on a Padres 26-man roster, but it's someone you can feel good about, it seems like, having on your team.
Yeah, and people asking, does that mean we're out on Sanchez? I would guess my answer would be yes, but making Campy the full-time starter, and I think A.J. Preller did allude to that.
He did.
That he's our guy moving forward. He's great. I'm excited about that. With Luis Campusano he needs to be on the field, and that's been the only real bugaboo in his game is staying on the field. So if he can do that, man, I like where I feel a lot more solid at that position than I did, 3 weeks ago.
And the fact that they're not spending $4 million on someone like Austin Hedges has got to be a good thing for roster flexibility the rest of this offseason.
I couldn't agree more. You're still going to want more depth at that position because you always need it. I guess that's where Brett Sullivan comes in. A couple other guys down in the minors. I don't think Ethan Salas is a name you need to get that excited about for this season. But he's certainly there, lurking, waiting in the wings in a couple of years. So you feel decent about that position. You feel decent about the guys that they've got, locked down. And there's still so many unknowns with this squad. It will be really, really telling and interesting to see how AJ fills some of these holes.
Team Unnecessary Adrenaline Rush did it again on Saturday night. We'll get to that coming up after a check of traffic on 97.3
Heart
The
attack
Fan.
kids.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Vicky Pepper.
Still got this Siglert and Kearney Mesa. This report brought to you by Mossy Nissan. 805 North at Claremont Mesa. A very serious accident from early this morning still has you down to just one lane. You're at a standstill from the 15. Unwrap Mossy Nissan's lowest advertised prices of the year during the Nissan Thrill of the Drive sales event. Get incredible lease deals and low APRs on new Nissans. But hurry, these offers won't be back in stock. Visit MossyNissan.com or a Mossy Nissan near you. I'm Vicki Pepper in for Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I think it's a fair statement to say I'm the biggest basketball fan of the three of us.
Very fair.
And as a basketball fan, I love buzzer beaters. They're like incredible. One of the best things in sports when you got a shot in the air as the horn sounds and it goes through the basket and it changes a loss to a win, like San Diego State did in the Final Four last year. Very few things in sports. Walk-off home run.
They're amazing.
Buzzer beater in basketball. Absolutely incredible.
And the difference between being down 1 or 2 and hitting the game winner as opposed to being tied and taking the game-winning shot, knowing at least we got overtime if we miss.
Yeah, it's way different.
Like the Final Four, or to be down 1 and then hit the go-ahead, it's unbelievable.
So from that perspective, there's no better team in college basketball than San Diego State because if you go back just in their last, 25 games, they have like 6 buzzer-beating,
They're the old
game-saving
of college
baskets.
basketball.
Yes, LFG, SDSU is what it really is turning into. These absolute pull-it-out-of-the-fire, incredible wins. They already have, they're not all buzzer beaters this year, but they have like 4 of them that have come down to the last play of the game, overtimes, and it happened again on Saturday. Here's the problem. Most of these games should not be this close.
Correct.
Most of these games should be taken care of long before you get to buzzer beater stage.
The 2 most recent ones, the 2 most recent wins,
yes,
are both of those games where it's like, man, I'm glad.
UCSD and UC Irvine.
It's like, man, I'm glad we got it done, but we should never be there.
Irvine's not a bad team. And the Aztecs were playing without Jaden Ledee.
Sure,
so
that's a huge one.
I was worried about that game, seriously.
When they climbed back and they were down 4 still, I'm like, I think Jaden Ledee doesn't have at least 4 points by now.
4 points in him, exactly.
Yeah. But when they got up by 16 early in the second half, and I go, this team is showing me something here. Without Ledee, they've taken a Big West favorite, top 75 net team in the country, and they're taking them to the woodshed here at Viejas Arena. This is incredible. And then once again, let's see if we can go 12 minutes without scoring and still win. Team shows up in the second half. It's mind-boggling how they play these games. I thought this one was a toast. They were down 5. They looked like they had no life or hope left in this game. They couldn't get a rebound with Ledee not out there. Couldn't get a rebound to save their lives. I'm going, they're going to lose this game at home to UC Irvine. The Anteaters are going to get them at Viejas Arena. Going to be one of the uglier losses of the last couple of seasons. And wouldn't you know, Darian Trammell hits a 3. Irvine misses a couple of free throws. They actually get a huge rebound. Jay Powell gets the huge rebound, finds Micah Parrish, lays it in with 10 seconds left. Not a buzzer beater, but gets the basket and the foul. Aztecs hold on and win by 1, 63-62.
Dude, the missed 2 missed free throws as well. So I had just finished the Seals game. And I walked out to my car, and Ben texted me. He's like, nice win. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, put on the Aztecs game right now. So I did, and I listened to the last, I think right when I turned it on, they were down 5. And I was
the last minute of play, which takes, 8 minutes to actually get through, it was unbelievable.
They were down 5, and I go, and when he got called to the line, who was the guy from UC? Who was it?
Their Darren, their little point guard.
Yeah, point guard.
He was all over the place.
So he bricks 2 free throws, and I'm like,
after he had just banked in a 3, to seemingly ice the win.
I'm like, you got a shot now. And I was listening to the great Uncle Teddy walk me through it. Uncle Teddy was phenomenal. Kept me informed every step of the way. And sure enough, man, able to pull that one out. The three, he said, and I didn't see it. He said it was basically a line drive. He said there was no arc to it at all. It went straight to the basket and nothing but net. He goes, there was not one bit of arc on that basketball. I did not think that was going in, and it did. Again, we talked about, Ben, after the bad loss to Grand Canyon, finding ways to win, getting sharp, overcoming some obstacles, things like that. That's testing. You're being tested, and you're passing most of these tests.
Yeah, I mean, the Aztecs could be 5-5. They could be 4-6.
Darren Saran was the guy.
Yeah, Saran. They could be 4-6 this year, but they're actually 8-2.
Yeah.
And they're 8-2 against one of the toughest schedules in the country. That's actually fantastic to go 8-2 against the kind of schedule that San Diego State has played through 10 games. Is not just, it's okay, they've gotten through it. It's actually fantastic to be 8-2 against that kind of schedule.
No
it's
doubt.
just the way they've gotten there has left you with some question marks and some worries going forward. Is it sustainable? Here's that question again. Baseball writers think the Aztecs.
Ben Rosenthal?
Says it's sustainable what they're doing. They're going to have to put teams away. You can't rely on buzzer beaters every single game. You're going to get burned in the long run if you do that, and they will.
San Diego State survived against Washington, who beat Gonzaga.
Gonzaga,
over the
they did,
and Long Beach State, who just beat USC
with Bronny James in the lineup on Sunday and LeBron in the house. That was probably cool for Long Beach State.
Shout out to USD, Ben, who beat Arizona State.
Biggest win for Steve Lavin in his 2 seasons in front of over 1,000 people at the Jenny Craig Pavilion.
Basketball school.
Yeah. It was a good
city.
It was a good weekend for basketball, certainly here in America's finest city. Now the Aztecs go into their finals break, so no games until, they've got St. Catherine right before Christmas, which is just doesn't even basically count kind of game, NAIA opponent. And then after Christmas, you've got 2 huge games. Stanford at home, and then at Gonzaga.
Now, I don't have it in the Reindl Report, so since we're talking basketball, the in-season tournament concluded over the weekend. Lakers won on Saturday night in Vegas. Talked about it on Friday. It didn't do a whole lot for me, the in-season tournament. The players all seemed to like it, and I saw that the ratings went up for casuals that aren't probably paying attention much in November. So I think it was a success for the NBA. I don't know that we needed the champagne goggle celebration like they just won the NBA Finals. That seemed weird to me.
Are we doing celebration? You must have a huge problem with it, Ben.
That was
because you don't even like when
bizarre.
They celebrate after winning a division.
I wasn't a big fan of it. I mean, they had the hat. I thought the hats were fine. Put on your championship hat after the.
No champagne though.
I wouldn't have done champagne.
First one
for the.
You won the first. It's the first one.
I mean, and maybe in like 20 years,
nothing.
this will mean a lot. Like the in-season tournament title will be a really important thing.
Like an automatic.
It's hard to say it is right now in the first one.
It didn't mean anything.
But when the team won the first AFL NFL championship game before it was even called the Super Bowl, did they know that it was such a big deal? Like, we're the first Super Bowl winner, and this is going to be something huge, or was it like? That's cool. We beat another good team, and I guess we won a title. I don't know. It's hard when it's the first one to understand how big it is and how important it is.
I don't really have a problem with celebrating. I don't. I mean, do you hang a banner for that?
No, I saw
Lakers,
something like
the Lakers don't hang banners for anything other than world championships and Hall of Fame retired numbers.
Because of how top heavy their roster is with contracts, I saw that more than half of the team is making less than $4 million. So $500,000 bonus.
Yeah.
That's significant for a lot of those guys. And I think that's great.
Not for LeBron, but for the other guys for sure.
I mean, it didn't. doesn't give you an automatic ticket to the playoffs.
Yeah, no, it just
doesn't really mean anything. It was just. I was like, really, we're like, this looks like an NBA Finals celebration. And
yeah, it did look pretty
December
pretty finally
8th or whatever it was.
It's weird because it's they went 7-0 in the tournament and dominated. I mean, they blew the doors off the teams in those tournament games. They're 8-9 in all their other games. And have been not that good in the non-tournament games. Now, luckily, the tournament games do count, except for the one on Saturday. The rest of them all counted in the regular season standings, so the Lakers are in first place. Can they bring that, though, in these non-tournament games going forward? What kind of team are they actually, now that this NBA in-season tournament is over? They're going to need to play like it's like, hey, Darvin Ham may need to tell these guys, pretend you're in this tournament, because you guys play a lot better when you think you're in the tournament than when you think it's just some dumb regular season game that doesn't mean anything. You've been pretty terrible this year. So we'll see what happens. I think they play tomorrow night at Dallas. Jump right in with a tough road game following the tournament tomorrow. But yeah, I had the NBA game on the TV. And then I had the Seals game on my phone. And then I put the Seals game on the TV and the Aztecs game on my phone. And was juggling all my sports watching on Saturday night because it was fairly busy. I'm glad there wasn't any college football really on Saturday other than I didn't watch any Army-Navy early.
I had it on in the house and missed a lot of it because of the Ohtani stuff. But it was an Army-Navy game. Navy won, yeah?
Army
won.
But you were close.
I thought I had Navy. I was 50-50. I took a shot.
Very close.
Took a shot.
Good guess.
But yeah, so I watched a ton of basketball and did enjoy that Seals game, I must say.
God, it was electric, dude.
Let's see. Soccer's won on Saturday night on the road, and congratulations to the PLNU Sea Lions women's soccer team who won the National Division II Soccer Championship, first national title in any sport in Point Loma Nazarene history.
Very cool.
To win the title, they won 1-0 on Saturday. So bring a championship. We always say bring championships to San Diego. Well, PLNU actually did it this weekend. I know we'd rather have a World Series title, but I'm not going to diminish what the Sea Lions were able to do.
Plan the parade.
If the Seals win a title, it will mean almost as much to me. That's how much I love them.
All right, Paulie's got some other headlines coming up in the Reindl Report. Final hour of Ben and Woods is next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I see Woods a little life draining from him. The Seals take so much out of you, that PA work on Saturday. Man. I know how to fire you back up, though, in our final hour.
Laker talk.
No, I want to talk about Bob Nightengale's column that he wrote at some point.
This was...
Anything that can cause Woods to praise Bob Nightingale on Twitter
weird,
must be pretty
right?
extraordinary,
what the
right?
hell's happening?
I mean, when you see a Woods tweet going, I know I give Bob a lot of S, but this was really well done.
What's half the battle is admitting that you have a problem. Admitting that there is a problem with what's going on in the game of baseball. And I don't mean big record signings. I am pro player. I am anti-cheap owner. I think Shohei Ohtani getting $700 million is great for him. I think it sucks for Padres fans, but I don't think it's the end of the world, certainly. But I want players to get paid what they're worth because the teams always manage to come out ahead. They always manage to come out ahead somehow. And so I'm pro player. I'm pro salary. I'm anti-cheap owner. And I'm anti reporters doing the thing that they've been doing in recent years. And I was shocked when Bob Nightingale wrote this piece.
Yeah, if you missed it, his USA Today weekly Sunday baseball column really took his own colleagues to task.
And himself
for losing their minds during this Shohei Ohtani free agency sweepstakes. And, I mean, J.P. Morosi may never recover from the absolute pen lashing he got from Bob Nightingale.
That's the thing is, they always do recover. There is no repercussion. It's like being an umpire. There's no repercussion. Right now, no BS. Not a journalist. I could get on my Twitter and I could tweet right now, hearing reports that the Los Angeles Dodgers are heavily involved in talks with Scott Boras for Blake Snell and Sung-Ho Lee. Sources say teams are close, players are being notified, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I could literally tweet that out. What is going to happen to me tomorrow? Will I be here at work tomorrow?
Yeah.
Will I get dragged a little bit if it doesn't happen? Sure. If you can take it, if you have the iron constitution to get willing to get dragged.
You didn't even say it was going to happen, though. When sources say rumor, like they're close, whatever. What Morosi did, though, was misled the entire country.
The entire country of Canada.
That was when you really did go way too far. But
was where, I can think of three over the last couple of years. There was Rosenthal
and Max Scherzer.
Padres,
murdered
Dodgers.
us.
That sucked. John Heyman, right, had the arson judge to the Giants, and then Morosi on Friday.
Well, and Bob Knight, are we doing this here?
Sure, why not?
All right, let's just do it here. So he wrote a piece and basically called himself too. But in a certain way, he called himself to task. So there was an issue at the winter meetings, and we all heard. I think it was Jesse Rogers that actually came out with it, our pal from ESPN, and said, "Yeah, I basically just watched Jed Hoyer, the GM of the Cubs, face to face with Bob Nightingale." And I guess what it was about was he had tweeted that the interest in Shohei had waned. Which is not good. If you're the Cubs and your interest hadn't waned, you don't want them thinking your interest has waned at all. He also had something to say with Christopher Morel being included in trade talks. That was also not true. But Bob went on to say in his article, he actually never raised his voice. He just said
wasn't even about
Ohtani, et cetera, et cetera. So there is something to what Bob is saying and what J.P. Morosi did, but J.P. Morosi's not going to lose his job. He gets dragged for a couple days and it's over.
But what I loved even more about Bob's piece is something that you do so well also. You and Bob Nightingale, apparently.
Please don't compare me to Bob Nightingale.
He peeled back the curtain.
Yes.
You're really good at peeling back the curtain.
I have no problem peeling the curtain back.
And I always love that. And I think Tier 1's like that as well, when Woods kind of shows you how the sausage is made. And Bob finally admitted what I think all of us kind of suspected, but when baseball reporters run with these rumors and sources, he said 90%, maybe 95% of the time, it's the agent who is telling you this. The teams have very few leaks. They do not give much information, but the Rosenthals, the Passons, the Morosis, the Nightingales of the world, They've got all of the agents on their, their speed dial, their text list, and the agents will feed them. They'll feed the chickens. They will throw these crumbs out with absolutely an agenda. Every single agent is doing this not out of the goodness of their hearts or because they love J.P. Morosi or Ken Rosenthal so much.
It's like reporter A, you're going to get the scoop.
Right.
Reporter B, you're going to get the terms of the money and the
because they want to be good with all of them because they need all of them.
Reporter C, you're going to get the players in return.
The agents need the reporters to generate the stories that create the market for their players, that create the competition for their players, which what? Raises the price and increases the contracts, which then in turn enriches the agents who are getting a portion of those contracts in the end. So when the agents are giving them 90 to 95% of these scoops, who knows if they're really totally accurate? Do you trust the agent when you know, hey, if I can make it look like there are 4 teams going after my client and I can squeeze an extra $5 million out of that, well, I get 10%. So that's an extra $500,000 in my pocket for simply sending a text to Ken Rosenthal in indicating that there was some interest from these other teams. You think they're not doing it? You think they're not lying about some of these these reports and these interest in their players? Of course they are. They're also doing their job for their clients at the same time. It's an easy justification.
It goes to show you, too, just how insecure people in this business are. What is it worth to you to be first? What do you, $50,000 bonus?
I was say, do you get a bonus?
I don't think so. I don't think so, and I don't think you can incentivize that because then you'll get worse than you already have.
Yeah.
I mean, then it's just guys taking shots in the dark, hoping they're right. But, he says in here, these are the rules, and if someone lies to us, we fall for it. It's why I've always been so reluctant to run with. I had video evidence of a pitcher doctoring a baseball, and I didn't run with it because frankly, I don't have the constitution for it. I don't have it. It's not my job. It's not my job to do. I gave it to a guy that it was his job and said, here, that's for you, man. Think of a good bid idea, throw it back my way, right? I mean, I literally had video evidence of it. Videos on video of Trevor Bauer doctoring baseballs pre-game, watching him with his hat and the sticky stuff, smearing it into certain spots, putting it in spots in his glove. He's like, bro, I got this. Do you want it? I'm like, I don't want this. What the hell am I going to do with it? Break this news? I'm not a news breaker. I didn't at that time. This is probably 3 years ago.
This was pre-Trevor Bauer lawsuit,
right.
everything. Yeah,
I thought to myself, can he sue me? Will I lose my job? That's how I felt. These guys have no worries about. John Paul Morosi showed up to work today with a tumbler full of Starbucks and his knapsack, and he's ready to pound out the next free agent, move. That's it. Nothing's going to happen to this cat, dude. Nothing. He is going to get dragged, and a year from now, they're going to be like, people will be posting the Canadian flag. There's no accountability. There's nothing's going to happen.
I mean, if you want to get, paid as a big-time insider, you have to be at least right and first enough where you've got that cachet. If Jeff Passan says something,
it's gospel now.
He doesn't
pretty gospel.
put out
He doesn't
rumors.
do the sources say.
He will be
done.
the last one to say something, and it's the finale of it.
Unfortunately, for the Hector Gomez's of the world and some of the other people who are tweeting out these rumors and these stories, I don't think they're really monetizing them, or they're not getting much out of
this
it. This
Joseph Kim guy's got me about to pull my hair out 4 days a week. He's got the connections in Japan and Korea, and he's always tweeting something. And I look at it and I go, don't you do it. Don't you get excited about it. I don't know how much he actually knows. Hector Gomez is right every now and then, certainly. Some of the genitals is right sometimes. Okay? Genitals and Seymour Butts have been accurate on things.
Now, you mentioned early in the show that you did not buy into the conspiracy theories that were floating around.
No, I did not.
That the agency for Shohei Ohtani,
CAA,
used the Blue Jays, Morosi, the entire country of Canada to jack the price up.
Correct. I do not.
Why wouldn't they do that though?
I follow it 100%. 99.9.
Here's what didn't happen. What's the guy's name that was on the plane?
It was the Shark Tank judge.
Okay, Shark Tank.
Who's a CAA client?
Understood. Hey, you're going here anyway. let's float it out there that it could potentially be Shohei Ohtani on that plane. Is that fun for you? And the guy's like, yeah, whatever you got to do. I'm going
You don't
regardless.
need to tell him.
Robert
Herjavec. So I don't think that there was some big conspiracy to dupe the entire country of Canada. I don't. It's hard for me to wrap my head around it.
It makes the Dodgers panic and maybe add another $100 million.
Again,
was CAA unhappy that Morosi went with that, though, and created perhaps some urgency for maybe the Dodgers to up their offer at the last minute?
I mean, you had Dodgers blogs on Friday going, it's done.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be the Blue Jay. Yeah, he's going to be a Blue Jay. I mean, he really had... I didn't buy it. I never bought it. I didn't buy it on Friday.
I'd love to know if the Dodgers increased their offer in the last 24 hours before the signing.
More interesting to me is...
Or if that was always the offer on the table and nothing changed.
Well, you'll never know. But more interesting to me is...
Someone knows.
Did Dave Roberts' big mouth cost them an extra 40, 50, $100 million? Did it? Did they hear that and go, I told you guys not to say anything? Ugh, Shohei's mad. He could probably be won over with an extra $100 million.
Wouldn't the agent say that? Isn't that doing their job if they'd say that?
I'm more likely to believe that happened than some weird Canadian plane hoax with Shark Tank guy.
But ultimately, Ohtani signed with the one team that actually didn't do what he asked.
Correct.
So
the one team that came out and admitted that we met with him. I saw people going, my buddy called me over the weekend. He's a huge Padres fan, and we were talking. He goes, man, and he was dead serious. He was not being he wasn't being facetious. He goes, honestly, dude, I thought he was different. And I go, how do you mean? He goes, I really felt like he was a man of his word. And I really felt he was different. And I really didn't feel like it was all about the money for him. And I go, bro, it's always about the money. It's always going to be about the money. You can count on one hand the guys that it wasn't about the money. Tony Gwynn was one of those guys. Was not about the money for him. Was about being in San Diego. And he said, yeah, I think that's who I'm thinking of. A guy like him that said, Yankees be damned, Indians be damned at the time. I want to stay in San Diego. Yeah, I can make more money. I want to stay here. And that makes me happy.
I don't know that this makes Shohei Ohtani not different, though.
I don't either. It makes him the same. I mean, it's the same.
What if that's where he wanted to go all along?
Of course.
I mean, he did. He deferred a ton of the money. There's nothing that says he had to do that.
That made him a little different, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, he might be a little bit different, but the rumors were just insane in this whole thing. I mean, the whole... What his dog's name was.
It is ironic.
People think his dog was named Dodger, and that's why he didn't want to say
his dog's name's Mickey Mouse. I said it on Twitter. His dog's name's Mickey.
And for not one of those insiders that we have discussed over the last 13 minutes to break the news, it ended up being Ohtani, of all people, to break the news.
Yeah, to put it on his own Instagram.
I thought it was unbelievable.
I thought he handled it perfectly. I did, and it's. But when Bob Nightengale is dressing you down for the way that you report, that you've it's very ironic, and I don't fail to see the irony. He missed on Trevor Bauer a couple of years ago, said he was going to the Mets. I mean, all these guys really miss. A lot of them miss more than others. Heyman misses a ton. I mean, we miss. I mean, we all have our ideas. You just don't throw it out there. But literally, I could tweet that today, Ben, and what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to me if that happens? Adam's not going to fire me.
No,
Michael's not going to fire me.
He might even praise you.
He might say, great job, dude, stirring the pot a little bit.
And I'm like, gift card.
I don't want to stir the pot right now. I just want to make Dodger fans mad, and I'm really good at that. But no, I mean, there's really nothing you can do. And I'll tell you, Bob, for all of Bob's blustering in this article, not one thing will change. Nothing will change. Nothing's going to change. They're going to run with what they hear because the fear of being last is greater than the fear of being wrong.
I mean, he called it an embarrassment to journalism.
You're talking about the guy that cannot spell. He cannot spell in his tweets. Who did he say last? Merrill. He called the pitcher for the Diamondbacks. Gurriel Merrill is going to be their third starter this year. Gurriel Merrill. No, it's not. It's Merrill Kelly. He said Merrill Gurriel would be the starter. They're all embarrassments to journalism at times. They all are, but nothing's going to happen to him. But if he's dressing you down, man, it's very, very ironic.
Let's take a time out. Paulie still has his Reindl Report coming up.
But I just to clarify, I did like what he wrote. And
I did too.
I like that he's at least saying we all need to do better, because I think they do.
It was a circus.
It was a circus.
Paulie's Reindl Report coming up next. Don't forget you can tune in to Kickoff with Boomer and Valenti Friday nights at 6 p.m. here on 97.3 The Fan. It is presented nationally by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos brought to you by those who drink it, and by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. Back after Vicky's traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
What'd the Kluger send us?
So
Little
just
treat?
following up, no, it was just following up on our conversation about baseball insiders and the race to be first and getting it wrong and what Bob Nightengale wrote about J.P. Morosi and the state of his industry, essentially. And he sent us some audio from one Ken Rosenthal. And so let's follow up with that before we get to the Reindl Report.
Yeah.
Paul, you have the audio queued up? So this was Ken was it MLB Network yesterday?
This is Foul Territory.
Foul Territory. So his podcast, video of Ken Rosenthal with some self-reflection following the Shohei Ohtani coverage.
We all make mistakes in our jobs. You make them.
Nah.
I make them. No one is perfect. Now, I'm not saying that to excuse.
Well, I've never made a mistake, ever, on the air.
Here's what happened. There's no excuse for what happened. There's no question about that. It should never happen. But this is the kind of thing that occasionally happens in the Twitter era. Fans want information in real time. Reporters are trying to give them information in real time. Everything gets sped up. And it leads, frankly, to more sloppiness than existed in the days before the internet, when we were, well, most of us were just writing for newspapers that came out the next day. Now, I've talked about my worst mistake, reporting that the Padres were close to getting Max Scherzer at the 2021 deadline. I have since learned that I got played by one source and that I placed too much value in the words of another. It was not excusable. I have to own it. I have to live with it. And to this day, it haunts me, and it will always haunt me. I am not happy about what happened. Shouldn't have happened. It was bad judgment on my part. But in this day and age, there are very few of us who haven't been caught in the same situation. And yes, the bigger the stakes, the more careful you should be. Anything you want to say along those lines, I'm good with. You're right. The question people have often is, what is the value in being first on Twitter?
There we go.
And honestly, I'm not so sure anymore. I don't know that I was ever so sure. Most transactions can be confirmed in a matter of minutes. Now, I get amused when
It's very simple. It's ego. That's the only, that's it.
Yeah.
It's ego. And that, I've been in sports radio for 5 years. I was in music radio for, call it 10 years. The disparity between the ego on music radio and sports radio is the difference in Matthew Batten's ability and Shohei Ohtani's ability.
Wow.
It's like nothing I've ever seen. You would think that we were in here curing communicable diseases. I was operating on someone's spine. That's the people I've been around since I started this business in 5 years in sports radio.
Think about
They think of themselves as brain surgeons and not slap D's telling fart jokes, which is really what we're here to do.
We did a bit like 2 years ago, January. Tom Verducci had that video where he got to put a Hall of Fame ballot together, and he made like a 4-minute video,
God, dude.
and he's just like the ridiculousness that went into the video of the responsibility.
It was unbelievable. Remember that?
I do.
It was incredible.
And like we did a bit on it.
Like brain surgeons you don't see the brain surgeon doing this is my scalpel. This is how I will save your life. No, the guy just goes and does his
Tom
job.
Verducci, the power of this pen.
But you're not immune to it either.
Of course not.
I mean, you tweeted last night. It's a great tweet. If Mahomes yelled at me with his frog voice, I'd be forced to start giggling.
I would laugh so hard.
You would. You got hundreds of likes and retweets on that. It makes you feel good when people acknowledge.
It used to.
You don't care
anymore.
You don't
It's
like when people. People really enjoyed something clever I had to say. I like it. I have to admit I like that. And I've got to think baseball insiders, when they tweet out big news,
they want to be
gets
first.
70,000 retweets and stuff, probably gets a little rush of endorphins. Like, I'm doing a good job here.
For me,
positive immediate gratification, positive feedback. It's not, hey, you wrote a good column and 7 months later you win an award for it. It's immediate, right there.
Yeah.
I am seeing the numbers that people are
it's just
validating my job and my work instantly.
I got to get the banger off my mind. I got to get it off my mind and into the feed. And I don't go and obsess about followers and retweets and stuff anymore. I did. There was a time, certainly. My little hiatus away really helped put it in perspective. But I think that the ego, that's it. It's number one. I mean, Ken says, I really never was sure. Why? Well, yeah, you want to be known and regarded as the best or the funniest or whatever it is. It's ego. It's a very simple answer. And Jeff Passan. We've talked to Jeff Passan. I see the way Jeff Passan carries himself. His ego's through the roof. But he's earned it. He's earned it. He does a good job at not getting down in the mud and reporting. I'm sure all of those agents now know, well, don't send it to him. It's a waste of a text. He's not going to run with, it's a situation that's very clearly trying to drive the price up on my player. He's not going to run with it. It's just a waste of time.
Yet he still breaks most of the news.
Because he must be wired into the teams. I mean, he must be wired into a GM or two that says, yeah, it's done. Ink's on paper, and you want to roll with it now. I would bet a lot of money that AJ Preller and Jeff Passan have communicated before, many times, about deals that are finalized and whatever. Because I feel like he is a guy that they think they can trust. So it is. It's an interesting world.
And you want to have that chip if you ever need it.
Oh, absolutely.
You need a positive vibe from Jeff Passan. He's got a lot of juice in the baseball media world.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up a little more. We still have Ken Rosenthal, the rest of it here? Yeah.
In a matter of minutes. Now, I get amused when I see people commenting on my stories, my columns, as they did after the Ohtani column, after he signed, saying, Ken, you're a shill, you're a bootlicker, you're this, you're that, the other thing. Guys, MLB Network declined to bring me back in 2022 because I was none of those things.
That's true.
There are two prominent agents right now who won't talk to me because I am none of those things. And there were two other prominent agents who went, I don't know, about a year, maybe a year and a half without talking to me because I am none of those things. It's just the way it is. If you're going to report, you're going to upset people. You're going to upset fans from time to time. Things happen. That's the nature of journalism. The nature of journalism, the intent, is not simply to be nice to people so they will give you information. And that, to me, has been something that has been going on for a while now. Now, the choices I've made, they've hurt me in some ways. There's no question about it. And I've had to live with that. And I'm not going to sit here on my high horse and tell you I'm the greatest. Like I said earlier, I am not perfect. It's a hard game, man. It's a hard game to be right all the time. It's a hard game simply to just go day by day and grind it out. But I've concluded over the years that journalism has to come first. That's what we're here to do. And the speed is important. The quickness of reporting something. No one can deny it. People want that. And you guys out there telling me we don't care? No, you care. That's why you're on Twitter in the first place. But as much as speed might be important, accuracy and honesty are more important, and they always will be.
I will say this about Ken Rosenthal. I like that, what he said, and he is right. I do remember that whole situation with MLB Network, certainly. He does pick favorites, and he does pick anti-favorites. And the San Diego Padres, for whatever reason, over the last few years, have become an anti-favorite of his. And when I watched him a couple weeks ago, we played the audio of him on Foul Territory saying, and just bitter and mad of, I could have gone harder at you. Let me ask you, is that journalism? If by saying I've got more and that I purposely withheld because I could have gone harder at you, AJ Preller, is that journalism? The answer is no. The answer is unequivocally no. That is your duty to report what you know. What you know is fact.
It was not kumbaya in San Diego. And you know what? That story we wrote, Dennis and I, we should have gone even stronger.
That's a threat. That's a threat. If you could have gone stronger, you should have. Because you're in here preaching about the tenets.
You should go exactly as far as your information
will give you
supports.
And you are
no further, no shorter.
You're preaching about now the tenets of journalism. When 6 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, I got more. I chose not. That to me, you're saying, I've got this and you don't get it. Not to the listeners.
Now,
and
was
not
Ken
to the,
probably right about that?
Potentially.
Yeah, probably.
Potentially.
And that was part of what Nightengale wrote. He goes, we used to be the bridge between the fan base of these teams and the teams themselves.
Right.
Give them a glimpse into the inner workings of whatever's going on with their favorite team. He goes, don't try and play it off like that's why you're doing this anymore.
Right.
Rosenthal, Heyman, Morosi, et cetera, et cetera. You're doing this for yourself.
For ego.
You're doing this for ego.
But he was
You're doing this to
absolutely
be
right.
first.
When they started, it was a completely different game. You had all day until whatever, 8:30 p.m. deadline, the paper hits the typesetter. You can confirm 17 times that you're right, and then it gets published, and it comes out in the morning, and you've got it first because you're absolutely right, and it was 19 hours after you first learned it. Now, if you wait 45 seconds to try to make sure you got it right, 4 other people have already scooped you.
That's exactly
on
right.
Twitter.
Yeah, I just got a DM asking, do you think AJ told Ken to, stick it where the sun don't shine? And I said 1,000%. And that's why you got that diaper-filled rant about the Padres. And again, if you're going to be a journalist, you can't pick favorites. You
We should
can't.
have gone even stronger.
You can't. That's not something you can do.
Well, he should understand that AJ,
Well,
when
he's got to
he was,
understand he's going to get blowback from guys like me and you and our audience.
and AJ was, of course, lying through his teeth when he said everything was fine between him and Bob. But it was his only alternative.
Right.
Ken understands that AJ's job as general manager of the Padres doesn't involve massively creating even more tension and drama between himself and the manager that may, in fact, still be his manager for the next year.
Correct.
So he had no choice other than to try to make it seem like everything was okay. Ken should at least understand that. I never thought AJ was simply trying to embarrass reporters by lying.
No.
He was taking the only avenue that he had. He was told, by Peter Seidler before he died, try to make this work. So he was trying to make it work, and trying to make it work involved downplaying how much it wasn't working last year.
Correct. It's exactly right. That's not to defend AJ at all, but that is exactly what happened. Exactly. It's exactly what happened. But you can't preach to me about the tenets of journalism now and try to repair, the mistakes that you've made. And look, I loved some of those articles. There were parts of those articles I went, I'm glad this is out there. I'm glad it's out there. But then to come back and say, oh, I could have done more. Now you're not being a journalist. Now you're being weird and petty. And
It was not kumbaya in San Diego.
It's
and you know what?
Strange.
That story we wrote,
Listen to
Dennis and I,
the threat.
we should have gone even stronger.
Why didn't you?
And maybe if you asked him, Ken would say, not my finest moment now.
Maybe.
In his self-reflection mode.
Potentially. Yeah, it's just very emotional. That's not a journalist can't be emotional. That's what I've always been told. You'd be a terrible journalist. You're too emotional. You have to be just head down. Here's the story filed. Run with it. That right there is emotion. That's emotion. That is saying you're lucky. He's sitting back going, "You're lucky, man. I could have buried you guys, and I didn't." Then you're not a good journalist. You should be thanking me, Paulie.
All right,
tell that to the missus.
We got
tonight.
one.
See how that
One
goes.
segment left. Paulie's still got his Reindl Report, which we've now put off 2 segments, but I think it was worth it. It was good conversation. Someone took a shot at one of my favorite people.
Oh boy!
And Paulie is going to put it in the Reindl Report.
Is it me?
No.
Oh.
You are one of
he
my
likes
favorite
this person
people.
way more than he likes
Steve
you.
Kerr?
Yeah.
Oh, it was Steve Kerr. Oh,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
And it actually was a pretty good shot, I will say. It's coming up next with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
My apologies to Matthew Batten for catching some shrapnel in that last segment.
He did.
Should have said anybody else. I'm sorry, Matthew. You're very valuable. Caught a little shrapnel.
The talent difference between Matthew Batten and Shohei Ohtani was your comparison?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Ouch.
I think
Stings.
I think Matthew Batten would say, yeah, that's right. Accurate. I can't pitch. I don't hit 60, 50 bombs.
Fair enough.
But I didn't mean, he's one of our beloved, so didn't mean to throw some shrapnel. The first name that popped in my head. Well, all I think about is the Padres' depth, and of course Matthew Batten comes to mind when I think of Padres' depth.
Did you watch the game last night, the Sunday night game at all?
The Eagles,
yeah,
Cowboys
trashed the Eagles.
Smoked them.
But I thought the big story was the kicker for the Cowboys. Brandon Aubrey is his name.
Notre Dame soccer right?
player. Yeah. Then went to the USFL. Learned over the last 3 years how to kick. He's now 30 for 30 in his first season. And he
amazing, dude.
He kicked a 59-yarder, a 60-yarder, a 45-yarder, and a 50-yarder, and made them all look about as easy as a field goal looks. I mean, the guy has pretty much redefined kicking at the start of his career.
Yeah.
Has not missed at all.
It's incredible. What a find.
I mean, what a weapon that is. For a franchise, how many times has the kicker cost the Cowboys in the past?
They said in the broadcast last night, I think it was Tony Romo, was like, man, there's nobody that can make a coach look smarter or dumber than a kicker. Because now, I mean, if you watch the Los Angeles Chargers game, you saw Brandon Staley really likes to go forward on fourth down and not a lot of success. You have a kicker like that, you don't have to all the time. You can just take your 3 points and get the hell out of there and call it a day when you have a kicker that's that accurate and that effective.
Well, I think the advantage is you wouldn't even try 60-yarders in the first quarter unless you had immense confidence in your kicker, because if he misses, you're giving way too good a field position to the other team. But it's like, why not? We're just 3 free points. The guy is perfect. He's been perfect in his career. Until the day he's not. Obviously, he's going to miss at some point. But right now, they're riding the hottest of hot streaks I think a kicker has ever seen. And it gives the Cowboys a little bit of an advantage. They're 10-3. They've got the tiebreaker now over the Eagles, who are 10-3. The 49ers are 10-3. It's going to be a fun final month there in the NFC going forward. All right, it's going to be a fun final week here of the Ben and Woods Show in 2023. Coming up next Wednesday is our 5th annual Ben and Woods Christmas and Holiday Extravaganza, and we will be giving away $1,000 gift cards to help families in need buy gifts for the holidays. Visit 973thefan.sd.com/holiday. Nominate a family in need to receive the gift cards, and then we got to thank all of our generous sponsors. So I know we've got $1,000 gift cards from Padilla Law Group, San Diego's father-son injury law firm. Visit PadillaLawGroup.com. San Diego Seals, get your tickets now at SealsLAX.com. 7 Mile Casino, just 7 minutes from downtown. Swami's Cafe, a spot to dine and unwind. And it looks like we're getting a 5th card from the Tier 1s who have put together
it's unbelievable.
At least $1,000, and we're working that out as well to add another one to the mix. So get those nominations in on our website, 973thefansd.com/holiday.
Continue to blow me away.
We've already got the 5th card is secured.
Done. Yep.
It's a matter of will the Tier 1s donate a 6th card?
It's incredible,
is what we're already
man.
working on.
That is incredible.
Unbelievable.
Brilliant.
All right, we got 10 minutes left for Paulie's Reindl Report. We'll get to it right after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Vicki Pepper.
Still got this Sig Alert in Kearney Mesa. This report brought to you by Mossy Nissan. 805 North at Claremont Mesa. A very serious accident from early this morning still has lanes shut down for the investigation, and no word yet on when they expect this closure to be picked up. Meanwhile, you're at a standstill from the 15. Unwrap Mossy Nissan's lowest advertised prices of the year during the Nissan Thrill of the Drive sales event. Get incredible lease deals and low APRs on new Nissans. But hurry, these offers won't be back in stock. Visit MossyNissan.com or a Mossy Nissan near you. I'm Vicki Pepper, in for Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Reindl Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report.
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Okay, how are you?
On 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a oh yeah? Oh yeah.
All right.
All right. Gentlemen, we'll start off in college football. There was just the one game that we talked about, Army-Navy, over the weekend, but the
Navy
Heisman
lost
Award
to Army.
Woods bet on the game after the fact and still lost. I got Navy. Got me. Navy. Woods, Army already won. Ah, dang. There goes
Did Navy ever
$50.
have a lead? Because I remember seeing a lead at some point.
No, I don't think so.
Got two kids.
Well, if you would have bet on Jaden Daniels to be the
was at the
Heisman
game,
winner,
so you can ask him, I think. So
if you had bet on Jaden Daniels to win the Heisman winner, you would be a wealthy man.
Right now. Bet right now.
Don't bet now. Jaden Daniels won the award over Michael Penix Jr. from Washington.
Now, Michael Penix won that award, right?
You get good odds on Penix right now.
It was a little bit closer than I thought. We all kind of thought it was Jaden Daniels' award to lose, and it pretty much was, but he had 503 first place votes for a total of 2,029 points. Michael Penix Jr. finished behind him with 1,701 total points.
Very deserving.
I feel like too many people get to vote on the Heisman.
That's a lot of people.
I mean, it's always good to have a large sample size. Usually that
better than 6.
Yeah, then they have too much power. But do you really trust that the 12,000 people who are voting here all are watching enough college football to have an informed opinion
Bro,
on this?
I mean, seriously, I'd be like, I watch 2 teams, maybe. I mean, this is
maybe they just limit it to one reporter, one media member that follows each Division I program.
I mean, I saw Jaden Daniels had 40 touchdown passes. That's amazing. But 11 of them came against FCS opponents in 2 of his games. So do those really count for anything? I don't know. I might have gone with Michael Penix Jr. still. Best player, best team sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
All right. In the NBA, this is what we were teasing. Steve Kerr just getting shots thrown at him over the weekend. So we'll start with the audio from a couple of weeks ago. Warriors playing in Phoenix against the Suns. And here's what Steve Kerr had to say after the game.
It's like a South Beach club out there. What are we doing? I'm being dead serious. I couldn't hear anything out there. It's just the whole game. It's just this thumping techno club music.
Phoenix.
Yeah. Is this a Seals game?
Boy,
You
you'd
get the
hate a
music
Seals game,
playing
bro.
all
You would
night.
hate the Seals
Woods
game.
screaming all the time.
Motley Crue in the background.
I mean, that's what they do now in Phoenix. They've really amped up the noise inside the Footprint Center.
Those comments were made after the Warriors played in Phoenix.
Did they lose?
I think they lost that game. They lost that game.
Now, the Phoenix was playing Sacramento on Friday night. Didn't have anything to do with the Warriors, but the Phoenix Suns in-house DJ did take center court, and he dropped this
Had
banger.
his record spins and everything.
And you can't hear anything because it's like a club. It's like a South Beach club. It's just this thumping techno club music. Thumping techno club music.
Really, something we
thumping techno club music.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, they all went nuts.
Do we get to hear the beat drop? Is there more? Because I'd like to hear the
I have to pull it up.
techno club music.
Techno club music.
When the whole
Thumping.
place goes
Techno club music. Thumping. Techno club music. Thumping.
Oh,
that
my
is
God.
brilliant.
Now, does it
really
make you want to go to a Suns game or
Kind
not?
of, yeah, kind of. That's really, really funny. It's my favorite, honestly, it's my favorite part about the Seals games is the constant music. I love it. It just keeps everyone engaged and gets me fired up.
Do you get any input on what they play?
I do, actually.
Do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
he at Bo, who's our DJ, it's DJ Mancat, and I love him. He's such a good dude.
Not your Bo.
Not my Bo. It would literally just be Deftones, probably. But he asked me, give me a couple of upbeat songs. I told him, I'm like, bro, you have to have Tom Sawyer. And you have to because they're all Canadians. So you play Tom Sawyer and we have the ball, it'll fire us up. And so he does.
So are all the other players on the
It's
other
true.
team. You were
It's
playing
true.
Calgary
I know.
literally in the first
Calgary.
game.
I know. So I picked a few in there. He doesn't mess with my gig. I don't mess with his. He does a great job. DJ Mancat's the best. But I love that. It's a good high energy.
Even
deal.
the Steve Kerr lover found the amusement.
He has
in
to
that
laugh.
story.
He has
Yeah.
to laugh at that because
I
it's
think
so good.
I think so.
All right, and then finally, earlier this morning, guys, we had Golden Globe nominations coming out.
The Globes.
Now, I always have to figure out which is which. Golden Globes is like a blend of film
TV.
and television.
Correct.
The Oscars are just
Just movies.
Just
Emmys
movies.
are just TV.
television.
Emmys are TV.
Yeah, the Golden Globes are chosen by the foreign The Hollywood Foreign Press.
Hollywood Foreign Press.
Yeah, there were a few films and shows to dominate the nominations. Barbie, of course, Oppenheimer, and Succession were the leaders as far as nominations.
Seen 2
goes.
of the 3, which is good for me.
Yeah, trying to, let's see, like Best Picture
Succession?
nominations.
Oh, Succession.
Barbie, Poor Things, American Fiction, The Holdovers, May, December, and Air.
I started watching May, December on Netflix, and I fell asleep. But I'm also very tired. But it's Julianne Moore. Remember
Your December and Hannah's May.
That's the deal.
Is that how it works?
That's what May, December means. It's one younger, one older. Yeah, I'm the December.
You just don't want to get into a December February romance.
If I go December February, she'll be 70 years old. So no, I'm out.
Now, I don't know. What's the difference between Best Screenplay and Best Picture?
Nobody knows.
So Best Picture is the whole kit and caboodle.
It's like a lot of the same movies.
It's the actors, the director, everything put together. Screenplay is just the
words on paper.
The words. Like, it was a really well-written movie. The acting was terrible and the special effects were trash. But boy, that was a well-written movie. You could still win Best Screenplay.
Bradley Cooper did well. He was the director for Maestro. He also starred in Maestro.
What is Maestro? I've never heard of it.
It's his new movie.
Okay.
Sometimes those movies come out like in January and they're on limited release right now, so they're eligible for the awards, but we haven't actually seen that. Now, is that the case with Maestro? I have no idea, but
Maestro
I haven't heard of it either.
Came out in September.
Okay. Yeah, it's been out for a while. Got an 83% like rate.
Oh, no, you're right.
To,
sorry, Ben. It was released at a film festival in September.
Aha.
It'll be streaming on Netflix starting December 20th.
It's the relationship between Leonard Bernstein and his wife, Felicia.
Okay.
And it's directed by Bradley Cooper.
Is he starring in it as well?
He is starring in it as well. I
Playing,
assume as
the great
Leonard Bernstein, I would think.
I listened to a little bit of Bradley Cooper on Howard Stern a week or two ago, and he offered Stern a part in that movie, and he said, absolutely not. He goes, I'm not doing it. He's like, I don't know if you're a good director or not. He's like,
That's why.
Not a chance.
That's why. I don't know if you're a good director.
And then one of our favorite shows, The Bear.
The Bear. So epic.
Cousin Richie was nominated for a Best Supporting Actor in a television
such
show.
a great season.
I assume
season
Spoons 2 was the episode that they...
God, that's one of the best episodes of TV
I love
I've
that
ever
episode.
seen. I can watch it every day.
Good.
It's so well done. Man, that's a good show. Well, I hope he cleans up. I love that guy. Whatever his name is. Richie. I just call him Uncle Richie. Or Cousin Richie.
Cousin Richie.
Yeah. So good. Thank you,
They're all
Paulie.
cousin, though.
You're welcome.
Cousin. Can we start calling each other cousin?
All right, cousin.
Cousin.
Chef.
All right, cousin.
Better than Chef. All right, Chef.
All right, that is it for a quick Monday program. It flew by. It's time. We'll see if the Padres start getting into some gear. Like you said, no reactionary moves, but moves. They have a lot of things that they need to get going here, so we'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Get you updated on everything. Couple of Monday Night Football games tonight. We got the Dolphins and Titans here for you on 97.3 The Fan. First, though, Coach and Braden back from the Army-Navy game, which was won by Woods.
Army.
Correct, Army. That is coming up next for Cuz Paul Reindl and Cuz Stephen Woods. I'm Cuz Ben. Have a great rest of your Monday from all of us here at San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.